Hello, everybody. Welcome into our latest live broadcast. It's Friday, the 11th of April, 2025. My name is Kerry Holzman, and today we're looking at a GMKtec budget PC. So, first of all, let me just kick this right off. This was on sale Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, but not today. GMKtec keeps turning their sales on and off, seemingly randomly with no deadlines or expiration dates. This was $10 off. Now, the reason I have it here in front of me, we went out, we bought this with your contributions and your support. We bought this unit, and we selected this unit because, in my opinion, it is the lowest unit I will recommend for a client. Whether it's a business client or a home user, the way this is spec'd out for the price, I would not recommend anything less, except normally this other computer from another manufacturer is $200 and not as good as this one, even at its normal price right now, which is $139. Hold on, let me go take a look at it real quick. This unit here is, it's $139. Which their Amazon is saying is a sale price. But there's often a little coupon code down here that you can check a box that takes $10 off of this. Why it went away today, I have no control over that, but they move it around. I'm just telling you. Now this machine, despite having 8 gigs of RAM and a 256 gig SSD, is more than the average customer uses. So the average customer doesn't need a high-end machine. And in particular, a lot of people I talk to don't have any money. So for them to come up with, let's say, $140, that's a big sacrifice for them. And I would just tell them, don't buy anything. But now the prices have come down to a point where it's like, you know what? This is actually quite acceptable with the N100. It's even more acceptable when there's a $10 coupon that you can just click a little box. So if you're patient and watch for it, we know the tariff war continues between the US and China. They just raised it again. So every time they raise it, we raise it. Every time we raise it, they raise it. All this stuff is made in China, so it's likely going to go up in price once the existing inventory is depleted. So if you're here in America, then you're looking at this as a secondary machine for a home theater PC or to help a family member or a friend. As far as I'm concerned, this is a good 8-year build, honestly. It's going to be not much more different than building your own computer. But then this morning, I was brought attention to this ACEMAGICIAN Mini PC, which is a bit smaller, as you can see in the photos here. This one has 3 HDMI ports, whereas the one we were just looking at, you can hook up 2 monitors, and then I think, let me go back. What were the video outputs on this? Yeah, 2 HDMI ports. So you hook up 2 monitors to this one versus getting a smaller unit. Now it's $199. Which is why I was not going to recommend it, because it's too expensive. But there is a $70 coupon. That brings that price to $139, and then there's an additional 9% off promo code. That's going to bring that price to $111. Now, yes, this is an N100 instead of an N150, so it's a little lighter there, but it's 12 gigs of RAM. It's soldered on the board. It's DDR5, which means it's faster, and it's not upgradable as far as the RAM goes. The M.2 drive is going to be very, very tiny. It's not a standard M.2 because this is smaller than a standard M.2, or it's about the same width, meaning that there wouldn't be room to install it. It would stick out. That's how small this is. So we did not buy one of these because this only went on sale today. Now they do have another version of it here that's spec'd out a little bit better with 16 gigs of RAM and 512 gig of storage. And you're looking at the same processor, and it's basically the same thing. $80 off is going to put that around $150. So it's kind of like 6 of one, half dozen of the other. I do expect these are existing inventory that will sell out. This is an older Wi-Fi and an older Bluetooth, but nonetheless, it does have the dual gigabit Ethernet. We come back over here. This has single Ethernet, but it's 2.5 gig instead of 1 gig. But for most of you buying a computer at this level, you probably don't have a 2.5 gig network, or you wouldn't see much benefit to it for the kind of processor and RAM this has. It's sort of like buying the cheapest car possible and then putting super unleaded fuel into it. It's not really beneficial, but it's there. Okay, so depending on how you weigh and measure the value of that, I'll leave up to you. But as far as the choices go, this unit, and then there's another version of it with more RAM. Let me just scroll through the options here. So this is DDR4, the other unit's DDR5. And then we have, you know, the ultra tiny thing here, which is even smaller than that ACEMAGIC, half the size of a cell phone as they show in that picture. That's going to limit the amount of ports you have as well as any upgradability. And what I'm looking for here is an option. Is it this one? This is an equivalent to the ACEMAGIC here. This is the G2 Plus. That's also an N150, which is higher end than that ACEMAGICIan. It's got 12 gigs that are DDR5 soldered on, 512 gig SSD. And this shows a $70 off coupon that's going to bring that price to about $150, $150, $160. And then finally, this last option is the upgraded version of the first one here, this 1-for-1. Looks like they move the coupon. It looks like they trade between these two. So this one has twice the amount of RAM and twice the amount of storage. Everything else is the same. With an $11 coupon, it's going to bring it to about $158. It's $168.99, just like $169 minus $11. So right now, as far as like the cheapest thing that you can buy that I would recommend today, at this very moment I'm making the video live, it is absolutely, unquestionably, without a doubt, this unit right here at $111, while that sales is applicable and while this 9% promo code is valid. Both machines are quite capable. Neither machine is really all that upgradable. This one is less upgradable than the GMKtec that we're going to look at today. But again, the reason we would upgrade these machines in the past was so that we could get things to go faster and do more. These CPUs are limited to how much RAM you can add. Intel makes them that way. They just can't be expanded. They're budget, and so your hands are tied regardless. That being said, expect if you're considering one of these, understand what you're buying. All right, this is not a mid-range computer. This is not a high-end computer. This is not a gaming computer. This is not something you can open up and make any better. It's basically, that's how it is. Now, yes, on some of these units, you can change out one RAM module. It's not going to be dual channel. That would be DDR4. If it's DDR5 on these, it's soldered down. The smaller it is, the less likely you're going to be able to change out that storage affordably, because the shorter length storage devices are usually more expensive, even though they're not faster. And for the most part, any type of storage that you need today, you should, in my opinion, just be buying external USB flash drives or storage drives, so that you're not creating heat and putting more wear and tear on the PC. And depending on that PC, like putting all your eggs in one basket. It's just a bad idea. It's also cheaper, easier, and less invasive to just add it onto the external USB ports. That's what they're there for. And it's not going to run that storage any slower. USB 3, the 10 gig per second ports, if it's USB 3.2 by 2, which is what I think these are, that's 10 gigs per second. So you can get the full 1,000 megabytes per second out of an external SSD that's capable of running that quickly. No joke. And then you have the ability then to take that SSD and plug it into another machine. If anything happens to this machine, at least you have all your stuff, hopefully, you taking my advice, and you haven't just jammed it all in here and then something happens here and everything is down until you get that sorted. So for that reason, I think these machines are perfect because they almost force your hand to practice the right procedures, the safe procedures that I recommend to all my clients and customers. You almost have no choice. Now, if you don't like that, stay away from the mini PCs in general. When you build your own computer, then you can expect to continue to modify it in many different ways that you individually want to do, depending on how deep your wallet is. This is for people who either don't have deep wallets. These are for people that say, oh, my computer is not Windows 11 compatible. What am I going to do in October? Well, Windows 10 doesn't shut off. It just stops getting updated. You know, Windows 95 still works today. It hasn't been updated in decades, but nothing's stopping you from using it. But good luck getting anything to work on it. So it kind of fades out. And while it's fading out, you become a security vulnerability every single day after the first 30 days after support ends. Your system becomes more and more vulnerable every day simply by plugging it into the internet. If you take it off the internet, you're fine indefinitely. But the minute you plug it into the world is coming for you. And if you don't have any defenses, good luck rolling those dice. So this way you can stay with Windows 11 legitimately. You're not bypassing any security requirements, which would defeat the whole purpose of having it. I don't understand all these YouTube videos that teach you how to circumvent the Windows 11 security protocols to get it installed on non-compatible hardware, because then you're less secure than you were with Windows 10. So yeah, I mean, people make content, doesn't make any sense at all, or they don't understand the consequences of what they're suggesting, which is more than likely what I think it is. They think they're bypassing something. It's like a shortcut. It's not a shortcut. Unless your shortcut is looking for aggravation and frustration, then by all means, don't let me get in your way. But slow and steady is going to win this race, and it's more affordable than ever. When you look back at this video, based on what we're seeing happening with the tariffs with China specifically, you might just wish you had taken advantage of this when they were half price or even available at all. So that's not fear-mongering. I hope I'm wrong, but it's not getting any better. It's only going to get worse. And factories in China are already shutting down because, as far as I know, they're not even shipping this stuff over here now until this whole tariff thing gets sorted. And we're not even getting close. It's just escalating. It's not even leveling out yet. So until that at least reaches an agreement, there's nothing to make for the US. There's nothing in this regard with electronics, computers in particular. We have vast inventories in warehouses. I suspect people will panic buy, and if there ever was a time, you're getting this information before most people are getting it. So, and that goes for even if you were considering building your own computer. Don't hesitate much longer, because motherboards, cases, power supplies, everything, that's all made in China. So once the existing inventories sell out, there's probably going to be some window of time, which I don't know. It's going to be like the pandemic again in this particular category. Other categories are affected, but other categories are not my line of work. But this is a very interesting economic time. And while I don't have a crystal ball and I'm not a financial advisor, nor do I claim to be, I don't think it takes a genius to see what's coming and notice how things are just they're worse today. The trade negotiation with China and the United States are worse today than it was yesterday, and it was worse yesterday than it was the day before. It could all be resolved tomorrow, but we have no indication that it's going to get better before it gets worse. So I would play it safe, because I feel like even at this price, it's not like it can go down much more. If I am completely wrong, and all of a sudden tariffs are completely removed, so now they can sell these for even less, they wouldn't be much less. It'd be a couple dollars. So at this point right now, I am telling you, it's not likely going to get much cheaper than this for at least, I would guess, about this time next year. And the reason I say that is the combination of existing inventory, the argument back and forth over tariffs being unresolved and getting worse every day, and the Windows 10 expiration coming up in October, combined with the pre-existing inventories they have here to move this product. The pre-existing inventories usually indicates these are older units that weren't being made anyway. So these are going to be replaced by newer technology. That newer technology will be more advanced. Probably each generation is about 10% better. So it's not like it's a 100% difference between one generation. It's a very minor change from one generation to the next. You have to go forward 4 or 5 generations usually to notice anything, to make it worth whatever it costs. So that's my perspective on it. That's what I want to share with you. And today, we're going to do a live unboxing of this G3. I would have picked up the ACEMAGIC, except like I say, it only went on sale today. So I don't know how long the sale's for. I don't know how long it's going to last. I'm afraid if I order one to show you, by the time I get it, they'll either be sold out or the sale will be off. And of course, Amazon has a 30-day return. So if you don't like it, just send it back. Okay, if you're ordered from Amazon, all the links for these 2 mini PCs are in the show notes below today's video. Let me say hello to everybody that's joining us over here. I'm going to jump over here. All right, here we go. Happy Friday, everybody. Let's say hello to Scotty and Bob Furin. Bob just became a member today. Thanks, Bob. Ski Man and Darren Gilholm saying hello. There's Eddie Casanova and Rick Lakes, Luke Greeny and Mark Baggett. Marsman 50 says hello from Wisconsin. He says he just finished setting up a Minis Forum NAB 6 Lite i5 12600H, 16 gigs of RAM, 500 gig SSD. More than adequate for my cousin. Finally learning my way around Windows 11 Pro. Yeah, it's pretty straightforward. I see a lot of anxiety about it, and then people quite often they use it and they go, "Oh, is this it?" That's it. Why is everybody making a big deal about it? I don't know. That's why I always tell you guys, you got to have your own experience and stop listening to people out there. The people who are the least flexible, who want everything their way and assume that's the way everybody wants it, is the way they themselves want it, lack very basic consideration. They don't like change, and they're the most vocal online. So if you hear a loud vocal opinion, it's usually a tiny minority who's just very loud. In other words, they're posting everywhere and all the time, and it's simulating a large crowd. So remain skeptical, my friends. Either go to a trusted source or get your own hands-on experience and decide for yourself. At the end of the day, it's how you feel that matters, not what somebody else, who's some complete stranger somewhere in the world, who could be a bot for all you know, may not even be a real person. Could be a competitor posting about the product in an unscrupulous manner. Listen, that happens. How can you tell them apart? You can't. It's impossible, nearly impossible to tell those apart. So when push comes to shove and you're really curious, find out for yourself. All right? So your opinion is the only one that matters. CFW says hello. Morning here on the East Coast, about an inch on the grass. Okay. Welcome in. There's Mark Gaines and Doman 2000. There's Thomas Mac T and our friend Buster there in the chat, now a member for 35 months. Right on, Buster. He says, hello, Carrie and Marlena and everyone in the chat. All the best from Bonnie, Scotland, where the temperature in Edinburgh is 56 degrees Fahrenheit there, which is 13.3 Celsius. Now, today I think we're going to hit 101 Fahrenheit. Want to trade? Next week, we should cool back down into the 90s and 80s. I am not ready for the summer yet, so yeah, I just got to get through today and tomorrow, and then things should start cooling down for the next 10 days or so. Hopefully the next 2 weeks. Chris Johnson also renews membership, also a member now for 35 months. And Chris says, hello, Carrie, Mara, and my friends in chat. I hope your Friday is going well. Thank you, Chris. Thank you, Buster. Kurt Schlegel joining us says hello. Oh, and a 10-pound super chat from our friend Buster. Thank you again, Buster. He left a comment the other day on a video where he's like, I remember I gave you a 100-pound contribution and you couldn't believe it. And you didn't believe my name was real. And he goes, I don't remember what video it was, but it was years ago. And I know exactly what he's talking about. And I also don't remember what video it was, but I do know it was before the community Threadripper build, because by then I knew he was a real person. And his contributions, even back then, were very generous and still remain so today. And that was a long time ago. Yeah. I won't forget it, because, I mean, let's face it, you got a name like Peter Laycock, you got to wonder, is that somebody's real name or is someone messing with me? And so I'm a skeptical guy, right? But he kept participating and contributing, and it's like, not only is he a real person, he is one of the most supportive and kindest, thoughtful people I have ever met in my life. So always happy to see Buster here, because just a great guy overall, and what a wonderful part, an example of what this community is all about. We have lots of people who are very kind and very generous. Don't get me wrong. Buster's like the OG, and yeah, I give him as much credit as I can possibly give him for underwriting so much of what we've done here. And yeah, we're very lucky to have him, call him a friend, have him part of this community and call him a friend. Eugene Ildago saying hello. And let's see, Scott and Gil Garcia, Michael Lavelle. We've also got Patrick Manny and John Paul Bacon joining us. There's Davis Parsons and Zub Zero, Chris Johnson, John Williams, Phil Stodd. Joshua Mattingly with a $10 super chat says, thanks for the information and guides. Keep up the good work, Carrie. Well, thank you, Joshua. Thank you for the contribution and your support. Lodging Guy joins us along with Chris Dunn. Old Man 55 and Todd Wickham saying hello in the chat. 3D Everything, another member here for 35 months. He says, hello, everyone. I'm almost at 3 years. I'm getting old faster than I wanted. Yeah, well, I guess it beats the alternative. Let's see. Did I get everybody? Oh, Luke Renia renews his membership, also a member for 35 months. He said, and the clock keeps on ticking when we're having fun. Thank you, Luke. Luke joins us from Vermont. He's got several builds that we've done here as well that are his everyday drivers over there. There's Mortant 1210 and Charlie Purdy saying hello here in the chat. And Frank Jimmy. All right. Nick Poverman saying hello. 42 degrees Fahrenheit in New Jersey, he says. He says, spring is not here by a long shot. Yeah, I remember those days. What, it was 2 weeks ago. Tommy Baker said he set up his $129 model last night. Took a while due to my sorry ISP. Well, that's okay. Let's face it, if you're getting a budget machine, you've got to be reasonable in the amount of time things take. So if you have a limited budget for one of these, you probably don't have a super fast internet connection, because I will tell you, our internet connection here in Studio C, every single month, when I do this, it's 130. We could buy one of these and go out to a nice dinner every single month if we didn't have an internet connection to pay for. So it seems odd that somebody would buy some budget PC and then hook it up to an internet service that costs more every single month than a PC you're going to keep for the next few years. So that makes sense that you would have a slower ISP, and it wouldn't make sense to have a higher end computer that's being held up by the internet, and also to have the opposite be true either, right? It just kind of goes hand in hand. It makes sense. So with that, you've got to have some accommodation for realizing your internet's going to be your choke point, or certain processes like video editing that this machine can do are just going to take a bit longer, and that's what comes with the territory. And the fact is, you got a new machine that's Windows 11 compatible and under warranty. That's a lot for what you're paying for it, in my opinion, and in my experience in this industry. I can't build and sell them anywhere near that price. I don't know how they do it. So yeah, it's a good thing to take advantage of while they're at this price, because I got a feeling prices are going to go up. I think it's going to run out of inventory before the prices get crazy. That's what I think is going to happen here in the United States. But I don't know how much inventory is there. I just know, to the best of my knowledge, no new inventory is coming in at this point. We'll see what happens. Are we ready for the unboxing? Okay. I like to do everything live and unscripted, so I get your immediate feedback. There's no editing in this. You see exactly what I get. If there's a brick in this box, we're going to find out together. If anything's wrong with it, if it's missing any parts, if it comes out in pieces, I have no idea what's in this box. So we're doing this live. And the reason I do it live is because if you decide to order one of these, I want you to have some confidence that you're going to have proper expectations of how it's going to arrive, what's included in the box, and how it's packaged properly to ensure you're getting the right thing and not something returned or that somebody has damaged in some way in shipping. Because sometimes some shippers, you know, they play football with your packages. If you live in a certain area, especially if you're having the same delivery driver that's abusive or disrespectful to your packages, that's unfortunate for you. But that's not normal for the rest of us. So don't necessarily get mad at the package or at the manufacturer or even the retailer. It's the shipping service that's to be at fault. If it's happening somewhat regular to you, it's likely the last mile of service. Okay, here we go. Some information on the bottom of the box, just says GMKtec all the way around. And it's coming. There we go. Right here is what you're going to experience when you open the box. We'll pull that out. Normally these are wrapped in plastic. This one is not. Are they all that way? If you order one and you take it out of the box, let me know if yours is wrapped in plastic. Usually if it's not wrapped in plastic, it's an indication it's been repackaged, but maybe they're shaving a quarter of a penny off by leaving that out. I don't know yet. Let's keep digging and see if anything else looks like it's packaged differently than we expect. So here's the Mini. Looking back here at the box, everything looks good here. I don't see anything that looks like it's been used. We have an envelope with our documentation here, which personally I don't even read that. It's usually just basic setup information. And the reason it's so many pages is they publish the same 4 pages of information in 12 languages or something. So it's really not the read it appears to be at first. Underneath we've got this box underneath, 2 boxes, this one here and this one here. Other than that, that's what we've got. So what comes with it? Let's see, what do we have on this box? We've got a wall wart style power adapter. Now, you guys that watch this channel know I'm not a fan of this kind of power adapter, but at this price, it's hard to be picky because, quite frankly, the standard power adapters that I like are usually around $30 or $40 to buy them separately. So this is obviously a cost-cutting measure. Why I don't like these is just that they plug into the wall and they sometimes block access to the plugs on either side because of how wide they can be. and the length of cable is only about 5 feet. Whereas like a standard laptop power brick, which is what a lot of mini PCs use, that has a 5-foot cable, typically the same as this, but then another cable that goes from here to the wall that gives you another 5 or 6 feet. And when it plugs into the wall or your surge protector, it only takes one plug. It's not this big wide plug. And I'm going to have a little difficulty getting this to reach because I have to plug this on the floor behind me and somehow move that mini PC where I can reach. But at this price, that's totally acceptable. There's also a warranty card right here. It says if you have any problems, you can scan the QR code very quickly to reach them. And let's set that here. Let's see what's in this box. Oh, we've got an HDMI cable here. They're not typically this long. Usually mini PCs come with a short HDMI cable because many PCs can be mounted to the back of your monitor so you don't even see the computer. Now, I don't know how you access any of the USB ports if you do that, but in many businesses they don't need that. And this is the mount. And the mount has screws that go with it that attach to the back of the PC here. And then you can mount it behind a monitor, against the desk, under the desk, against the wall, wherever you want to drill holes, I suppose. I like just keeping it on the desk. They're very small. They don't take up much room. And typically they're very quiet. So that's everything in the box. So HDMI cable, VESA mount, power brick, and the unit itself, and some documentation. All right, so you're at your very bare minimums, no extras. Everything, I suppose the VESA mount is extra because I've never used one, but it's a nice little addition to have something extra. Whether or not you need it's up to you. Like I said, I've never used one in my life. Let's get this thing powered on, plugged in, and see how it's spec'd out. So give me just a minute here and I will get this all plugged in. I need some space on the surge protector here, and hopefully this will reach. Oh yeah, we got it. And then I do not plug it into the network on the first boot. I only plug in the video and the keyboard and the mouse on first boot until we get Windows to the desktop. Then and only then will I plug it into the internet. And then it should automatically sync the date and time. So the date and time is likely going to be of the time zone that it was created in that country. So for us here, they're usually about 12 to 14 hours difference. Do not correct that by hand. Just too many people fat finger the date and they cause all kinds of weird problems. And they don't realize they did that. To avoid this mistake, and also to just be more efficient, when you plug it into the network and go to Windows Update, it's going to synchronize the date and time automatically for you. So it's just an unnecessary step that if you want to manually do it, you just invite the opportunity for a mistake. If you let it happen automatically, it's faster and it doesn't make a mistake. All right, it's going to program to whatever, it's going to program the date and time to whatever time zone you've selected all by itself, and it'll constantly keep it updated. So over time, if the clock loses minutes or seconds or gains minutes or seconds, as they tend to do, you'll never know because it's always resynchronizing it on a regular basis. This is my keyboard and mouse dongle. You'll see we got the 2 USB Type A's here, 2 more USB Type A's in the back, 2 HDMI ports so you can have 2 monitors at the same time at 4K. At the same time, we have our 2.5 gig LAN adapter. We've got built-in Wi-Fi and Bluetooth. And then obviously to get into this, there's got to be some screws under these rubber feet. There's really nothing I advise you to update or try to update on this. If that's what you want to do, I suggest you buy a different unit that meets your needs. When these are brand new and under warranty, and I cannot stress this enough, don't jeopardize the status of your warranty because you want to do something simple and end up breaking the unit that's not a warranty issue because the screwdriver slipped or something, some mistake happened over a very simple job that arguably didn't need to be done. It was voluntary, it was elective, and now you've just potentially broken the machine out of warranty. It's not worth it. At that point, just get the machine spec the way you need it. If you're that demanding, this is for people who aren't demanding. This is what is the least amount of money I can get where I can buy it once and not have to worry about it. Well, as long as you're not opening it up and trying to make it any better than it is, in which case I'm not saying you're going to fail. What I'm saying is it's possible. If you don't do that, it's impossible. Okay? So why open that world of possibilities if this is all you got? Why would you risk losing it? So for that logic, I would simply say, take it out of the box, plug it in, turn it on, and enjoy it. The days of needing more RAM and more storage, they're mostly behind us with all the cloud storage. And like I said, external SSDs, which are so much faster, so much more reliable. Cloud storage isn't faster, but it's certainly very reliable. External SSDs, one of the most reliable types of storage that exists for consumers. And they're cheap. And again, you're not putting all your eggs in one basket. So let's turn this on. Let's see what it does. I'm going to hit the power button. I got to plug the cable all the way in. Oh, I don't think there's a power light on this. Let me switch over to this input here, because I thought this was a light, but I think it's a reset switch. I don't know what that is. Let me go over to camera 2 and see if it's turning on. Here's the problem. They build these things so quietly now. If I don't have a light, either it's not turning on. Let me see if I can put myself here. Okay, I've got a green light on the wall wart. It has a little LED on it. That tells me that the little wall wart where it's plugged into the wall is getting power. It's plugging in here. Make sure I've got that in there correctly. And then turn it on. There it goes. There is a light on the button. Oh, well, you can see that. It's not the little pinhole next to it. That's where I was looking. So let's see how long it takes for us to boot up. And while it's booting, let me get rid of camera 1 here so we can watch in real time what our first boot looks like. In just a minute, we should see the desktop as it's doing its first boot. It goes through a lot of configuration. And hopefully, in just a minute, we're going to get something here. Now, your first boot up will take a little longer than every subsequent boot up after that, especially if you're doing updates and whatnot. So let me go back over to camera 1 here so you can see that there's still video happening and that you haven't lost your signal. Power light is still on. Normally, I expect it to have done something by now, but I tend to be a little impatient. And I don't hear this thing on at all, which is also like making me wonder, did it turn off or? Oh yeah, there's a very, very quiet fan back there. That's interesting. I really did expect it to boot by now. So let me unplug my HDMI cable and plug it back in just to make sure. Sometimes if you get the plug just a little bit, where it's sometimes making the signal, but then when it switches modes, the other pins aren't connected inside of the connector, then you could get, for example, it would explain why we got a power on self-test screen that said GMKtec, but then we didn't get the little toilet bowl flushing logo and such. I have a bad habit of not plugging my cables all the way in, especially on brand new units. Sometimes those plugs are really tight, especially USB. You've seen me like really struggle with them. They take a while to break in, especially on the less expensive units. They tend to be a bit tighter. And I tend to be a little overly cautious when I plug them in. So the reason this did not respond in turning it on, I didn't have the power cable all the way plugged in. It moved in like another 1/8 of an inch when I pushed on it. HDMI cable, nearly the same thing. Again, that's all on me. So before you freak out if anything doesn't work right, question yourself first. double check everything. Unplug a cable and plug it back in. Don't just wiggle it and push on it. Take it out and put it back in. Okay, now we're at the very first proper out-of-box experience setup screen. This is what you should see on any new computer you purchase. It should not just go to the desktop. If it did, I would be worried about a virus. All right, let's see. We're in English, United States. We'll continue in English. Again, United States. US keyboard, no secondary language on my keyboard. Accept the license agreement. And for now, I'm just going to put the name user. Suppose I have to turn the keyboard on for that to work. USER. I'll leave the password blank so it just boots right to the desktop. And for that date and time to set automatically, I leave location on, but everything else I turn off. And accept. Now it's going to configure Windows 11. It may reboot, it may not. It will get a thing that says, hey, we're getting things ready. It's just going to be a couple minutes. It usually doesn't take very long. You'll know when it's done because it's going to take you to the desktop with the start menu open. And then it's at that point, it's waiting on you. Once we reach that point, I can then plug it into my internet or hook it up to the Wi-Fi, but not until we get to the desktop. And that makes our process a lot easier to diagnose if anything doesn't go right. If we're plugged into the internet while we're doing this, we're making things a lot harder than they need to be. It'll start getting updates without your permission. Those updates may have issues. It may force you to create a Microsoft account even if you don't want one. So by getting us to the desktop, we bypass all of that potential downside. Not that it's a guaranteed that it's going to be a downside, but it's a risk. So by simply avoiding that process, I 100% avoid the downside. Doing it the other way is a roll of the dice. It might work out for you. It might not. So that's the reason why I do it the way I do it, because I've got so many machines to get through every day. I'm not a good gambler. It just doesn't work out for me. Slow and steady is going to win the race in my world. There we are. We're at the desktop. It was just that easy. And if we look at the date and time right now, it's saying it's way off. Like the battery in it is dead. Is it saying 2017? Hold on, let me change my resolution. Let me right click on the desktop. You can see we're in 4K here, which is really difficult for me to read. I'm going to go to display settings and I'm going to change this to 1920 by 1080 so as Oz can reads it. But just in case you were skeptical that this thing couldn't put out 4K, there's your proof. Now you see here it says it's 10:14 p.m. on April 2nd, 2047. That is very, very wrong. Let me tell you what's going through my mind right now. And this is why I say you should not get into the BIOS and monkey around with it or change the date and time by hand. There's three things I find suspicious about this. One, this was not wrapped in a package. Usually there's a plastic wrapping. Also, there's usually a plastic wrapping around the power adapter. This almost feels like it got returned and then sold as new. I don't know. We'd have to order several of them. You guys, if you order them, let me know if it comes out of the package the same way and if your date and time are set to that date. Because, oh, now it says April 11th, 2025. No, it doesn't. I'm looking at the streamer. Sorry, hold on. I got two different desktops. The streaming computer, and then of course this computer that's plugged into the streaming computer. So I have a desktop and a camera. It's not confusing at all. Normally these would be set to the date and time at the factory, and that would not be a standard date and time that it would be off that many years. That's usually an indication that someone changed it by hand and they fat fingered it, and they had no clue that they fat fingered it, which is why you shouldn't even go down that road to begin with. I have seen this so many times. I'm almost convinced people don't know how to put a date and time in, and they don't know how to proofread. However, if it's coming from the factory this way universally, if you guys get one and it's set up with a date of gotta go full screen so I can read it. Basically, we are a week, little like 9 days and 22 years off. It's weird. That's really weird. However, it's not dangerous. It's not indicative of a virus. It's not, you know, we went through the proper out-of-box experience. Before we connect to the internet, let me just check a couple things. Now, if that date and time isn't corrected, it's probably not going to browse the internet correctly. You're going to get kind of these websites not being able to load because your date and time aren't set correctly. So you can't really just ignore that. But when you connect to the internet, that should as long as the location settings turned on, it should self-adjust without you having to do a thing. But let's take a look here at our system properties. Okay, this is our NookBox G3. It's an N150 with 8 gigs of RAM, just like we said. 7.75 gig is available because the other 0.25 is being used by our onboard integrated video. It is Windows 11 Pro. It is 23H2, so we're 1 year behind. 25H2 is in beta testing. It should be out sometime in October, November. So right now we're one version behind. That tells you this machine was made some time ago. Now it says it was installed on February 11th of 2047. So that tells me the BIOS date was wrong when they reinstalled the operating system. So here's the way this makes sense to me. Somebody bought this, returned it. The manufacturer refurbished it, which basically means they reset the computer back to the factory image, but never fixed the date and time, which the person who had it before might have done. And the person who had it before probably threw away the plastic that came with the mini PC. And I think this is a returned unit. Now, I'm not saying they're all going to be this way, because they all wouldn't be returned under the same condition and the same circumstances. But if they restored that image without checking the BIOS first, that explains why our install date is in the future so far. It's not detrimental. There's nothing you have to fix just to be aware of it. All right, it's going to fix itself. Now we're going to look at the system properties and let's see if there's any issues in the device manager. Oops, I mean not the system properties. Right click on the start menu. We're going to go to the device manager. And as you can see, everything's loaded fine. Now, what if we had missing items in here? Or what if we just didn't trust this install and we wanted to completely wipe it and start again? I want to show you how you can do that in just a minute. Looking at what network adapters we've got, just out of curiosity, we have an Intel i226, that's the 2.5 gig LAN, and we have a Realtek wireless Wi-Fi 6 Wi-Fi adapter in there, which is also our Bluetooth. These are two respected names in the industry. So despite this little unstable beginning here, things are looking good now. Once again, if we double check our storage, it's going to be a 256 gig. Is it NVMe or is it SATA? It should be NVMe, but let me double click on that. Okay, it's not responding. How about that? Okay, let's go here. 256, we'll go to properties and we'll see what this drive is by going to hardware. Air disk 256 SSD. Uh-oh, this may not be NVMe. The other thing I'm a little concerned about is when I double click on this PC up here. Oh, okay, it came up. Okay, so I'm going to grab my utilities flash drive. We're going to plug that in. I do believe these are 10 gig per second USB ports here. So let's go to my flash drive and we'll copy Crystal Disk Mark off onto there. Actually, Crystal Disk Info. Either way, I'll just take them both. How about that? Let's grab Crystal Disk Info and Crystal Disk Mark. I'll move those over. And let's see what Crystal Disk Info says about this drive. Kind of curious what the hours are on it, how many times it's been powered on or off, to take me back to my theory about whether or not this machine has been recertified. Well, it says it's been powered on 16 times. That's, I don't know, that could go either way. It does show it is NVMe, but it's 2-channel and not 4-channel, which may be a limitation of the CPU, by the way. That means we should be getting about 1800 megabytes per second on our reads. If we were by 4, then it would double to 3600 if the NVMe drive were capable of that on a Gen 3. So just real quickly, we'll just take a quick gander here at Crystal Disk Mark. And we'll just run the sequential reads and writes to see what our numbers are on this. But I'm expecting on the reads to be about 1800 in that ballpark, and the writes should be probably a little bit less than that, maybe 1200, 1400. So as long as we're in that ballpark, this is what's expected at this price point. And it's much better than SATA. You know, we did review one of these machines from a different manufacturer that had a SATA drive installed. That was Camrui. And I reached out to them and I said, did I get a bad one? Did you guys not? SATA and NVMe basically cost the same, but the NVMe is 5 times faster, 6 times faster. Did somebody make a mistake? They said, no, that's how we sell them. I said, well, I haven't seen a SATA drive in a brand new mini PC in years. And that soured me on it because I thought it was a pretty good deal until I found that out about the E3B from Camrui. So that's why we do these live and unscripted, because I wouldn't waste my time if I didn't think this was a really good deal. And seeing some of these little things here are a little off normal, but still not quite enough yet to change my recommendation. There's going to be some sacrifice made for that lower price. You're going to put up with some unusual, let me rephrase, if anything is unusual, at that price point, it's acceptable. If I'm spending $1,000, then it's not acceptable. You know, there's a certain price where I shouldn't have to sacrifice the maximum read speed of an NVMe drive. So the NVMe drive can run at ×4, but the socket it's in is only ×2. I believe that's the order. Now, I could have that backwards, but I don't care. It's a budget machine. We're at 1500 on the writes, 17, almost 1800 on the reads. That's exactly where it should be, and that's exactly what I was expecting. And to even get that much at this price point, it's like nothing to complain about. Now that we've gone this far, now I can plug it into the internet. So I'll grab my LAN cable here. Now watch this bottom right corner where you see that globe right down there. And when I plug this in, it's going to negotiate with the router. Let me get rid of the flash drive. We don't need that in there right now. And this little guy down here in the corner, that's going to start, well, it's 23H2, so it's not going to do anything. It's going to become a little monitor here in a second once it negotiates an IP address with my router. There it goes. And now we're connected. Now, this date and time, it says it's still not right, but it's better than it was. And that's likely because it's not set for the right time zone. So we can right-click on it, adjust date and time, make sure I'm in the right time zone. Yeah, it's got me on California time, which technically right now is accurate. We're going to set it to Arizona, and I'm going to tell it, I'm going to turn this feature off and back on again. It's almost 2 o'clock here. Now that's set correctly. You see, I did not manually type the date. I did not manually type in the time. And I also didn't make a mistake. I let the machine take care of it. And by setting the time zone, it takes care of this in the future automatically. I never have to revisit that. I'm going to go over here to settings and then to Windows Update. We're going to have a lot of updates waiting for us. And I recommend any new computer, whether it's a mini PC or something you build yourself, before you start configuring it with your software, your printers and everything else, save all that for later, do all your updates first. It's a great burn-in test to make sure updates install and reboot and you're not getting any errors or blue screens before you waste any time putting applications on, installing printers and getting things configured like scanners for something you may end up having to send back if something's wrong. Then you got to take all that off and clean it up. And it's just a lot of extra work. Slow and steady wins the race. Hi, Mara.
Hi.
What you up to?
Check your email.
She wants me to check my email. All right, well, let me just go over here with this and I'm just noticing camera 1 is a little bit, hold on a second here. Self right over here so we can keep an eye on that together. And then I also want to go over to my chat room. Patrick Manny said this computer is back from the future. It's your PC, says my GMKtecs were not wrapped in plastic, nor were my B-Links. Interesting. Todd Wickham recommends maybe the CMOS battery. Usually the CMOS battery, when it dies, will revert back to the manufacturing date of the BIOS, sometimes even years before. You're likely going to see a date going the other direction, not the future. So I don't know. It's possible, though, that maybe the default BIOS date was set wrong to begin with, meaning that should it lose BIOS battery, that it would revert back to the factory date. And if the factory date was fat-fingered, that it permanently stays that way anytime it loses power. And if your CMOS battery is dead. So these kind of things, like I said, it's going to have the wrong date and time simply because the time difference between where it's made and where it arrives. So if this is made in China and then it arrives here in Phoenix, there's a significant time difference that could even be the difference between Tuesday and Wednesday, right? That's normal. It's 100% normal. And then also looking at what else I've been missing here in the chat room. Just before I check email, let's take a quick look. Luke Greenia. Oh, that's the last one I left off is Luke. David Graham with $2 super chat said you need your desk outlet back on the desk. Mara. All right, we just had a disconnect here. Can you check the Wi-Fi for me? We just had a disconnect. Thank you. Sometimes we have to change channels on the Wi-Fi here. Something just happened where our connection dropped between us and the YouTube servers. So if you experience buffering just then, it was us. It wasn't you. But we've got Mara working on that in the background. There's Mitch Morrison joining us in the chat. Good to see you, Mitch. Welcome in. All right, now before I lose my train of thought, let me go back and say thank you to David Graham with a $2 super chat. He said you need to put the power outlet back up on the desk. So the studio is a long way to go before it's set up. And where I've got it now is it's a make, just for now, to make do. But at the same time, it's another reason to emphasize and give a real world example of why those shorter power cords can be a problem. And it's a live example of how that's a problem. Right? Just because I need to put an outlet there, do you? Or what are you going to do if that doesn't reach where you need it to go? So if this was placed on a desk and you ran the cable behind the desk, and then you've got to come out the front to go, over here or over there to wherever the nearest wall or plug is, will that cable be long enough? And it's just there to provide you with something to consider. For me, I don't like it personally. I'm sharing with you my personal opinion. How you deal with that is your choice. How I deal with it is mine. And the way I prefer to deal with it is simply not to have power cables that are that short. But again, if you're at this price point, you get what you get. And if you can afford to be, say, hey, I need a longer cable, then you need to buy an extension cable. So you're going to be spending more, or you're going to have to accommodate whatever it is you have to do to stay within what you can afford, just to be reasonable. All right. Thank you, David, for the $2. Charlie Purdy with a $10 super chat. He goes, that's a nice little mini PC. I just bought 2 for friends who only use email and pay bills, and their Windows 10 expires in October. Yeah, well, there you go. The renew Windows 10, supposedly $30 a year. At what point does it just not make any sense to do that when you can get this for Windows 11's already on there, and it's modern, it's probably faster. Even if it's spec'd out lower, it's still probably faster. Quieter, it uses less space, costs less money and electricity to run, and has a warranty.
Everything looks good. The only thing I did is I changed the channel. This signal is a little...
But is it good now?
It's okay.
Okay.
It's not perfect.
Well, we'll keep an eye on it. We'll see how it goes. Let's see. Let me come over here for a second. We're still downloading updates over there. Remember, we still have 24H2 to put on, but I think after these updates, 24H2 should be offered to us automatically. Now, if you do not do this, if you just start putting your programs and everything on, this will be happening in the background whether you like it or not. So don't be surprised if for no apparent reason the system pops up and says, I need to restart. Well, you're in the middle of doing something. It's another reason for you to set time aside, get this thing set up out of the box, get it updated. Imagine if you were asleep for days and you got woken up and you said, quick, we have to run. Start running now. Can I get a minute? Like, what day is it? How long have I been asleep? I am starving. Can I get something to eat? No. Hit the ground running. You're not going to run as fast and you're not going to last as long because you didn't get any nourishment. You're dazed and confused, and you're just not at your peak performance. This is what the Windows updates are doing. They're giving it that nourishment. They're getting it up to date. So before you start asking it to do any of your tasks for this kind of a logic, this is the best analogy I can give you, is you give it everything it needs to work at its best. And I mean performance, security, and reliability. Once you've got all that good, now let's put it to work. That's the logic I use. This way I avoid support calls that don't need to happen, and I avoid having to talk to an upset customer who didn't need to be upset if I would have just done things in the right order instead of just passing the buck on to somebody else. No matter what I do, there's always going to be updates to a computer that I build. I just recently sent a computer to somebody. I sent it off on Monday. Windows updates came out on Tuesday. I didn't have it anymore. I did it fully updated on Monday before I sent it. On Tuesday, updates came out. Customer got the machine today. Guess what? They should be updating it as soon as they get it. There won't be as many updates because it's only been a couple days. That's how quickly updates happen. So if it's gone a few months or even to last year without any updates, there is going to be a lot waiting, and you should expect nothing less. All right, let's take a look at the emails since we're still waiting over here. Let me grab my glasses and let's see. Oh, our friend Charlie Purdy sends an Amazon gift card. He goes, this is for future content, hopefully not from China. I got nothing against China, man. I really don't. What's going on with their government and our government had nothing to do with me. But, you know, everything we pretty much use here, from Wi-Fi routers and solid state drives, motherboards, cases, and power supplies, it's all made in China. But I don't have any say in that. I'm just buying a product. The details of where it's made or how they get it to that price, yeah, I just care if the tech is cool, or if the tech is a really good value or very useful, or I think it could be for my viewers. I appreciate the support. Thank you very much, Charlie. As always, another very generous viewer, great community member here. If you're watching this live, you should be joining us in our chat room. We have the friendliest chat room of this size I think you'll find anywhere on the internet. And even if you think it's weird or awkward, just come in and say hello. Let us know you're watching. Sometimes just by saying hello, conversations spark up, and then friendships develop, and then you'll have another reason to be in our live chat, which has nothing to do with me. It's so you can talk to some virtual friends, real friends that you wouldn't otherwise meet. So they're in this like virtual space. And we have some real friendships in there where these folks come in and they completely ignore me. They're just talking to each other. And I love it. I think it's great. They don't ignore me. I'm teasing, but they're having their own conversations, and I love that. I also love talking to the viewers. Viewers are watching us all over the world right now, from Australia to Canada and England to Brazil and Scotland, Ireland, etc., etc., etc. And it just amazes me that we can be broadcasting around the world live with a few seconds of delay and talk to each other in this big group format in 4K Ultra HD resolution. It's crazy. We're just growing up in the 1980s as a teenager in the 1980s. Boy, oh boy, have we come a long way. All right, let me just change my power settings. The screen blanked out because the machine is setting the screen to go to sleep, which is obviously a default. So let me go back over here to full screen. And I'm just.
Did you ever get your email?
Yeah, Charlie?
Yeah.
Yeah, I just.
Okay.
Yeah,
Sorry,
thank you.
well, I was mine and trying to figure.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you for bringing that to my attention, and thanks again to Charlie. All right, I'm going to just type in edit power plan, and then we're going to see what it's set at the factory. It says turn off the display after 5 minutes and put the computer to sleep after 15. Computers going to sleep is designed for saving batteries. So if you have a laptop or tablet, something that takes batteries, sleep mode is there to keep those batteries from draining too quickly without shutting the computer off. Putting a plugged-in computer to sleep makes no sense to me. I don't understand the logic here. If you're done with the computer, just shut it off, or at the very least, just have the display turn off. That's the thing that's taking the most amount of power for most computer users, is your display. So we're going to set that to just be 3 hours. That way it won't go to sleep on us while we're live, but I normally don't set it that far. I think I set my desktop to about 20 minutes. And that way, you know, sleep mode, sometimes it fails to wake up properly, or it takes a few minutes to wake up. Just by setting the display to go to sleep, you don't have to turn the display off. It goes into a low power, like vampire state, where it's just sipping on a little bit of power. And when you move the mouse, both the computer and the monitor should instantly come back on, or within a couple seconds, which is much faster and far more reliable than sleep or hibernation. But when you're trying to conserve a battery on a portable device, you don't really have much choice other than, you know, shutting it off. So that's the logic I use. There's obviously no rules here. You can do it any way you want to, but that's the logic that I use. The other thing is I would turn on the automatic updates here, since we're waiting. Turn that on, and I would go to advanced options, look and see if there's any optional updates down here. And I would also turn on to receive updates for other Microsoft products to keep me up to date, and to just let me know when it's done all this in the background without me knowing, not to interrupt my work, but to give me a pop-up and say, hey, I'm ready to restart if you are. And I can say, yeah, go ahead, or I can say, no, I'll do it later. I love knowing that, rather than being surprised when I shut the computer off when I'm done for the day and it says, oh, finishing installing updates, and I'm thinking, what updates? I like to know what's going on. I like to have proper expectations. And I'm assuming you would like that too. All right, the other thing, I don't like this little cartoony thing down here on the search, so we'll type in search permissions, hit enter, can scroll all the way to the bottom to this last option. Turn that off. That gets rid of that. Now, even though I've closed out Windows updates, they're still running. This doesn't have to be visible, but I like, again, part of control, part of expectations is being able to see what it's doing so I understand how much more time, or that it's just not sitting there stuck or has a problem. So I like to constantly babysit, audit, whatever you want to call it, but I don't have to hover over it. I can go about my day, but I do make a point to come in and check on it from time to time just to make sure it's still progressing and it's not waiting on me. Lana Joe said, I often leave the computer on, but turn the monitor off. Yeah, well, it's the same thing, except if you were to wear out the on-off switch on the monitor, that's all. By having the computer take care of that, it's all being done electronically. It doesn't involve any mechanical switches that can fail. But you're more or less doing the same thing, and if that works for you, keep doing it. Graham Edwards joins us in the chat. Hello, everyone from the UK, he says. And there's Mecca Cameron joining us, saying hello. John Lewis joining us from Brazil. Timo said, I wonder if Microsoft fixed all the 24H2 bugs. I'll keep saying it as much as I have to. There is no perfect world. We do not live in a world of absolutes. Every piece of software has bugs, will always have bugs, and the only way to remove software bugs is to remove the software. It is inherently in the design of the software that you are connecting to an ever-evolving internet that new opportunities and exploits become available regularly. Nothing is perfect. This is the best we can do, and we're always making it better. Sometimes when we make it better, we introduce new bugs. If you don't like bugs, don't use software. Don't use it on your phone. Don't use it on your appliances. There's always bugs. I can go back to the 1980s and show you hacks on Donkey Kong and Galaga that should not exist. And that's little tiny bits of code, not as complex, by a million times less complex than Windows 11 code is. The more complex the code is, the more opportunity there is for bugs. I am not aware of any bug affecting any customer. I am aware that there are bugs. I am aware that there are people who read about other people who have bugs, but they themselves have no actual issues. And then they come into the chat room and they go into forums and they say, well, what about these problems? And the only answer to that is, what problem are you having? Let's not talk about anybody else. Let's talk about you. Give me an example of what problem you're having with Windows 11. I will show you a solution. But to sit there and just generically call out bugs without any specificity doesn't tell me that suggests to me you've never used it. That's what it tells me. You've never used 24H2, you're living vicariously through information you believe to be true, or if it is true, is not affecting the majority of population. Otherwise, how would I be in business? I mean, think about it. If there were bugs that were preventing my clients from getting any work done that affected their productivity in any negative way, how would it be possible I'd still be employed? It's not a feasible thing that Microsoft would release an operating system that people couldn't use because it had bugs. There are ways that they keep improving it and making it better, and as such, there's another side to that coin. You're asking for a coin that only has one side. There's no such thing. There never will be in your life. The question is, what issue are you having? So instead of making accusations based on conjecture, let us help you with, if you really truly have a bug, it's more than likely you don't understand how it's working, and we can help educate you on that. That's not a bug with the computer, that's a bug with the user, and nobody's talking about that. But I'm not here to belittle anybody, but I'm here to be honest and direct. And those kind of comments make it very, very discouraging and disparaging for anybody who was cautious believing what you just wrote as a reason to not try it. It causes harm and anxiety where none needs to exist. On the other hand, we are here to help. So if you're having some difficulties, give us the opportunity to help correct what you're mistakenly doing wrong. And you'll find that these bugs, they're so specific, the ones that remain, they're so specific that the odds of it affecting you are, you might as well buy a lottery ticket. Now, there are bugs with third-party vendors, companies like Steam or, particularly Ubisoft, where they don't write their code to Microsoft standard. But that's not on Microsoft. That's on Ubi. You talk to those third-party makers because they're the ones that aren't following the rules. There's also driver manufacturers that don't follow the rules. That's where the problems are. Usually, there's always exceptions. It's not a world of absolutes. But in my line of work, when I get these calls and complaints, most of the time it's the user. Once in a while, it's the software. And then even fewer, it's the operating system. That is so rare to work your way, drill down to that specificity to get to Windows being the problem. I'm telling you, I would be out of business. The fact that I still run this business and I still have customers is evidence. So yeah, I get a little worked up with that because if there is something specific that you can demonstrate, we can help you resolve it. I'm not aware of any bug that's not resolvable unless it's made by a third party. So I'm talking about Windows bugs. I'm not talking about Ubisoft bugs. I'm not talking about, some third-party software, because anybody can write any program any way that they want and then point the finger. But the reality is the reality. So I'm here to help. Timo says, I fixed DNS issues. Yeah, okay. You might also have broken a shoelace. That doesn't mean that the shoelaces on those shoes are all bad and we've all, I don't even know what DNS issues you're talking about because that's so specific to you and to anybody else that you sought out online who had the same problem that I have never had a DNS issue on Windows 10 or 11 that I can ever recall. So I don't know what you're talking about, but what I'm telling you is there's usually, so you ask yourself this question. If everybody's having this experience, but your experience is different, and then what you do is you go on Google and you search for others who have the same experience, it can often leave you feeling that this is affecting everybody when you just sought out a little minority who were vocal online. So you're not alone, but it's also not a widespread issue. So the next thing is, what do you and those other small little minority of people having this specific issue have in common? And I can guarantee you guys are doing something differently. There's some piece of software you're using. There's something you've modified on your computer, likely under the idea that you're outsmarting everybody, that has now come back to bite you on the butt, that you've had to fix, and then you blame Microsoft for it. That is the only thing I can imagine that is the most likely. Now again, this is to benefit you. When you're having a problem with the computer, the first thing you need to ask yourself is, what am I doing differently? What about my configuration is different? Because what you're describing, I've never seen before. And I deal with this at a very large scale. And if I do see it, then my first question is, why is this different from everybody else? And it's usually something the user has done. Sometimes it's a piece of networking equipment that you have to reset. Sometimes it's a bad networking cable. Sometimes it can be a driver. Usually it's the user. When we can fix the bugs in the user, we'll fix most of the bugs the users complain about. I know it's harsh, but I'm just being honest. It's what I do for a living. And I fix the user-created problems. In the last 3 years, there are more user-created problems, probably 9-to-1, versus actual Windows or software problems. May not be that high. It's pretty high, though. The vast majority of my income comes from fixing user-created problems. That's just the reality of the business. And I know the users, they want to blame somebody else. They don't want to accept that. They don't want to feel like they're dumb. And it's not my intention. But they want to know how it happened. I'm going to tell them how it happened. They did it. They don't want to hear that. But they're going to hear it because they asked. And I don't want to have to keep fixing it over and over again. Stop doing that. Whatever that thing is that caused it, or I'm going to have to keep coming back and fixing it. So, you know, sometimes you get a bad update and you have to, like on printers stopped working. Perhaps the user didn't do anything any differently. So you just uninstall the printer, reinstall it again. Very easy fix. Who's to blame for that? Is that a Microsoft update? Is that the printer driver software? I don't know. Don't care. It's a 30-second fix, but it's still not common. Carl says, when returning a mini PC to Amazon, should you leave the operating system on the drive? It doesn't matter. Either way, it's going to be reset, so it's up to you. John Lewis says, I was fortunate to have found this content and group. I know it has saved me money, time, and upset by bringing me up to date. I'm below the equator in Brazil and depend on my computer daily. Well, I think most of us depend on our computers daily, regardless of where we're at. But I hear you, and we're glad to have you. We appreciate you being a part of this community, and for a long time, too. I think John Lewis's name was on the front of the Threadripper community build that we did. Davis Parsons with a $5 super chat. He says, everybody hit the thumbs up button. We have 281 watching and only 20 thumbs up. Come on, subscribe and hit the button. Thank you, Davis. He's my hype man. David Graham said, I maintain my 5 computers every day and can't remember any bugs in years. Yeah, that doesn't, so again, it doesn't mean bugs don't exist. It's just the likelihood of the bugs that are there affecting you are so specific, the prerequisites that require for that, that are required to experience that bug are so minimal that it's not a high priority for Microsoft to fix it. They will fix it, but they have larger fish to fry, as the expression would go, fixing more serious issues that impact more people. Because a handful of people with a specific configuration that are doing a specific action or having a specific problem, it is not representative of the other 99.8% or 99.9% of users, and therefore it's no different than going to an emergency room. You're going to be triaged. If you're there because you need a Band-Aid, you might be sitting in the waiting room for a few hours. If you're there because you severed off a finger, they're probably going to get you right in. Okay, so it's all triaged based on priority. Your problems are important to you. I get it. But they're your problems. They're not our problem. The mistake people are making is in assuming this is a problem we all have. It isn't. It's a problem very few people have. And those very few people, as you can tell in the chat room, are the most vocal. They won't shut up about it. It drives me crazy. It's like, I've already told this person and they still keep going on and on. So I'm about this close from removing them. You can't help somebody who just won't admit they've done something different. And they're victims of Microsoft, of a bug, when it's themselves usually that need to be fixed. And if they won't hear it, then we're just wasting each other's time. This is a frustration where somebody makes an accusation, makes a claim without any proof or evidence of it, very, very few details. You try to explain that usually, in my experience, 34 years I've been doing this, I have no dig against anybody personally. It's not personal. This is just usually what it is. They don't want to hear it. Okay, we're done. Move along. I don't know what else to tell you. The reality of what you're complaining about still isn't my reality. If it is, I'll tell you. Why would I hide that? So I have no idea what this person's talking about. and they're not listening. So welcome to my world. It is so frustrating sometimes because my goal is to help. But if somebody's not going to listen, why am I, you know, there's other people that need help. People pay me for this help. I'm just saying. I'm not used to somebody getting it for free and then wanting to argue with me about it. It's really disrespectful, and it doesn't make any sense. But here we go. One of the reasons you've seen a lot more members-only videos is this kind of a obstacle in the discussion. This type of discourse does not occur in the members-only videos. If you choose not to believe the information I'm giving, you could still say thank you. You don't have to, you're not going to change my experience. I have not experienced it. No matter how much you insist, you're never going to change what I've experienced. So the polite thing to do would just say, okay, I gotcha. I understand. Thank you. That's the end of the conversation. So when they keep insisting, that's when it draws a line for me, because it's not why I'm here. It's not about being right or wrong. It's just about trying to help. If you don't want the help, you don't have to take it. I didn't ask you. I didn't come to your channel. Just saying. If I did, I'd be respectful. I'd appreciate that you even acknowledged I existed in the chat room, because a lot of channels don't. I wouldn't want to give that up. Oh, Bajin Guy says we're ready for a restart. Let's go over here. Let's go full screen so I can see it. We're still installing that cumulative update here. So even though the restart button appears, and we can restart, my personal preference is to wait for all of these installs to finish first. Now, there's no right or wrong here. It's just a personal preference. But in my opinion, it is not ready to restart. And when it is, we're going to get a big screen up here that says it's ready to restart. You're just looking at this button. I don't use that as a gauge to restart. You do, I do not, because it's still working right now. So that's just my logic. It's not right or wrong, it's just my way. So when you see the big, and I'll see it too, there'll be a big pop-up that comes up that says it's ready to restart. Then and only then will I restart. Now, there have been some occasions where I have not done that, right? Again, I don't live in a world of absolutes, but this is the process I prefer to follow. Bajin Guy says you speak with true tongue. What's up? Oh, emails again. All right. Oh, our friend Buster with a PayPal contribution. Very generous. Right on. Thank you, as always, to our good friend.
Buster.
Our good friend Buster.
Very much appreciated.
For sure, for sure. All right. David Graham with a $2 super chat says, I love you, Carrie. Thanks for all you do. Back at you, David. Thank you. Yeah, it does get a little frustrating sometimes. I'll tell you what I like to see as a technician. I like to see somebody come in and say, I'm having this specific problem. Not somebody else, me personally. I want them to ask if I know any way they can resolve it, not tell me after the fact, well, I had this problem and I resolved it, and therefore, like, I don't care. I didn't ask. It doesn't mean that your experience represents an industry-wide issue. I don't get the point of the conversation because you're not asking for any help. It's almost just like you're trying to add negativity for no apparent reason and without any specificity with regards to whether or not the fix you did was even necessary. If I had been given a proper opportunity to guide you, I probably would have gone about it a different way, but now we'll never know, right? So it's just your conclusion. I disagree with your conclusion because I've never seen what you're describing with Windows 11, and I've got a lot of clients. But again, if you come in with a genuine question, some kind of an issue you're trying to resolve, and and your first thought is it's Windows, you might be right, but I have to go through my process, not yours. Just like a doctor. You tell a doctor, I need some painkillers, you're probably not going to get them. The doctor's going to say, you know, I'm going to diagnose you. I'm going to give you the prognosis. I'm going to write the prescription I think is right, or none at all if I don't think one is needed. And if you don't like that and you want to score your drugs off the street, there's nothing I can do to stop you. But I have, have experience and an education in this particular space, which is why you're presumably here to see me. Don't tell me how to do it. Don't tell me, you know what I mean? Like if the doctor's asking questions, that's very helpful to give the additional information. But it's very rare that a doctor says, well, what drugs do you think I should prescribe to you? What would you like? It's not a restaurant. And in much the same way, when I do technical work, my job is to solve problems, right? My job is to, customer says, I'm trying to do X, Y, or Z. Then I say, okay, let me see the problem. Usually I'll remote in to see it. And we find a resolution for that every time. And never once am I aware of there being a Windows bug that was the problem solution on any regular basis. Sometimes there's an update once every 2 years, that causes a weird thing. Typically printers don't print, something like that. And again, just uninstalling and reinstalling the printer. And that's still not specific that Windows update caused the problem. It could be the Windows driver was coded in a way that didn't follow the standards, or files could get corrupted. There's all these kinds of reasons for these things to happen. And I don't recall any one universal thing that affected all my clients universally with any version of Windows for some time, for many, many years. So you can take that or leave it, but I have a business to run, and it's not something I can joke around with, because I could be homeless if I took it that lightly and I made those kind of presumptions. The reality is the reality. So. Ben Laird with a £2 super chat. Thank you, Ben. Todd Wickham said, Kerry, I've learned a lot from your videos and my local text too. That's awesome. We're just here to help. I learn too. Sometimes somebody says, oh, I'm having this problem. And I'm like, well, that doesn't sound right. Let me see it. And I'll scratch my head and go, well, you're right. That is a weird one. But if I don't get a chance to see it, my automatic default answer is, it's not the way you're describing. That's why I like remote access. Sometimes customers don't know how to describe the problem, or they're trying to go about something in a convoluted way that is much harder, in my opinion. And then once we get around that customer's tunnel vision to idealism, once we can say, okay, this is how we solve the problem over this, usually the customers get on board and they're appreciative. They don't argue with you. All right, let me just jump back and see how we're doing over here. Still installing. All right, we're darn near done with that first update. These cumulative updates are big, and they do take a while. Even if this were a high-end expensive computer, they still take a while. Thomas Yeager with a $5 super chat. He says, did you see my other super chat question? I was curious. No, I guess I didn't. Let me take a look here. Thomas. Got to scroll back a ways here. Oh, yeah, the $20 super chat. I don't know how I missed it. Thank you, Thomas. He says, thanks for all you do. Have you considered using Cash App or a code in the lower right corner of the screen? That way you can pretty much keep 100% of the contributions. I haven't. Primarily, those apps are one way. There's not any refunds. It can be very difficult to track any sort of receipts. So for me personally, I'm not here. Let me be clear why I'm here. First of all, the videos on Fridays, these are public videos. I spent my money to buy this product with my bench and the rent of this place and the electricity and the internet bandwidth and the cameras and the microphones and the batteries and the chargers and the monitor and all the cabling and all the spare parts and everything I need because I love doing this. And if people want to see more than that, they are welcome to contribute, but it is not expected. It's like a tip. It's never expected, but it's always appreciated. The more generous the viewers are, the more extensive the and frequency of the videos can be. But if I'm spending the time and I'm spending the money to get people to come in to harass me or argue with me, then I don't want to do it anymore. Or I only want to do it for people who pay membership because I know they're there for the right reason. They're not just bored looking for somebody to argue with, and they're complete strangers. It's not like I got Mr. Beast popping in here and, you know, telling me I'm wrong. You got to consider who the source is, right? So if I see somebody come in I've never seen before and they're critical, it's really discouraging to be on this side of the camera and have to put up with it. I feel like I'm babysitting, and it's very, very, I don't know how to explain it, but it's not what I want to do. But when people come in and they're part of a community and they're supportive and they're asking questions, instead of coming to complete and incorrect conclusions and then voicing that out as if it were true, and then I have to counter that because they've said that, I'm afraid viewers watching that will believe them. And yet, who are they? Where's their YouTube channel? What's their credentials? What gives them the authority or how are they backing this information up? Who are they? So if I have Doug Betts from Live Windows Training with Doug Betts say, Carrie, I completely disagree, he will do that in a respectful way. Okay, and I know who he is. So I know that's coming from a peer in the industry, not from a hobbyist watching anywhere in the world using a fake name, perhaps. We don't know anything about this person, but they're the expert. That's why when I do the members only videos, they're so much more enjoyable 100% of the time, is that never ever happens. It's only on the public videos if it's going to happen. So then the answer is, well, do we just shut down the public videos? But then most of the public viewers are great viewers. Why punish them? On the other hand, look at how the whole mood and shift has changed of this live video because I've allowed that to occur. So this is the dilemma I face. And if you're sick of hearing it too, please consider becoming a member, and we can just do more and more members only videos where things can stay on track more. And if people want to support the channel financially and criticize me, well, at least then I'm getting paid for it. But very few of them are willing to pay a dime. The ones that are the most critical are the ones that never pay a thing. So I need them as much as they need me. In that case, we can each go our own separate ways. I'm hoping and relying on people to make the best decisions, that's in their best interest. It's more pleasant for everybody if it's not your cup of tea. There's lots of other things to watch. But it's frustrating. It's so frustrating because as long as I've been doing this, there's always that one person. Always. And once in a while we get lucky, and that doesn't occur, but it's kind of par for the course making public videos. That's your reward for, putting the effort in. It's just having somebody be critical or correct me when I have no idea what the hell they're talking about. It's not like it's retaliation. I don't know who they are. It's just provocation. And if they know so much, how do I know? Do they have a book? Do they have a YouTube channel? What kind of verifiable background in this industry do they have to be able to assert some kind of technical information to an expert in the industry? Yeah, it's upsetting. But if I do the members only thing, then the contributions, they don't need to be there, right? Because the membership takes care of it. I mean, still, we have many members that contribute on top of that, but I don't like I feel like we talk about the contributions and the role they play in this channel without any corporate sponsorship. for us to maintain that, how that's possible. However, if the channel is nothing but, you know, throwing up requests for money, I don't want that either. That's just too much. That's swinging the pendulum way over to the other side. I'm not here to market and sell things to you. If I'm reviewing this, it's not to sell it to you. I'm just wanting you to be aware of it. I think that if you were a customer of mine and you said, Carrie, we need something cheap but reliable. It doesn't have to be fast. We're going to use this in the office. We're going to open PDF files and Word documents, and we're going to use our email, and we need Windows 11, and we just don't have the money right now to replace these older machines. What's the least we can do that would be acceptable for you with regards to reliability and support? That's why we're demonstrating this, because I believe this has that potential. I see a couple of things I'm concerned about, but so far, nothing that changes my mind. It just adjusts my expectations, that's all. That's fine. For the price, it's acceptable. If this were twice as much money, it would not be acceptable. That's the way I'm looking at it. And if we want to continue to make content with that being the reason for the content, not because a company pays me to tell you about something, or tells me what I'm allowed to say or not say, or makes me have to show them a video before I can show it to you, that's how I can absolutely get to 1 million subscribers. If I want to sell out and I want to make commercials reading other people's words, I guarantee you I can get this channel over 1 million subscribers if I just make commercials and I sell out and I have no opinions of my own. I just read what the teleprompter says, and I can guarantee you that will hit big with the public. And the reason I say that is if you look at any tech channel over 1 million subscribers, the vast majority of them, that's how they're doing it. I just don't want to do that. So clearly it works. What I'm doing is a very difficult way to make it happen organically through the community. So you guys will decide the future of this channel, as you always have. And this channel started in 2008 just as a public service. But then as it grew and became more popular, I put a lot more time and a lot more money into it. And, you know, we are where we are right now with the community we have, which is much bigger than I ever thought it would be. But I'd still like to see it grow. You know, I would like to continue to attract the right audience who appreciates the value of what I offer, regardless of any financial support, just so long as we have the right audience for it. That's my, you know, if I'm teaching, which I used to do in a classroom, if I have students that don't want to be there, I'm kicking them out of the class. I don't care. Most teachers will. So that may be where all of this comes from. But why would you be in my classroom if you don't want to be here? Particularly at a college level where somebody's paying money and they're disruptive or not paying attention. It's college. You don't have to be here. Get out. If it's disruptive to the class, somebody's showing up late or they're not paying attention, it's disrespectful to everybody else in the class, and especially the teacher. So even though as a quote-unquote teacher, I'm learning all the time from you guys too. Just to be clear, it's not all my way or the highway, but I'd like to see equal the communication should be open and fluid. It shouldn't be critical or disparaging. That's all. And because there's no prerequisite to come into a live public video, anybody can pop in, and maybe they don't even intend to be that way. They just didn't realize before they spoke. That's not how we do things around here. So I try to give people the benefit of the doubt as much as I can. But more and more, the members-only videos are looking more and more appealing every time this happens. Whether it's intentional or not, it's frustrating for me. In the meantime, getting back to tech, what else we got? Morton said I'd just kick him out. I let Mara handle that side of things if she feels like something's crossed a line. I don't really do that anymore. I feel like I might be biased. Maybe I'm in a mood, you know, and she'll tell me. And I feel better about it if it's not my decision. Just trying to catch up with some chats here. Todd wants to know, what days do you do members only streaming? We do that every Monday, like clockwork. Just as we do every Friday at 1 o'clock for public, we do every Monday at 1 o'clock for members only. Members only videos are only available to members and never, ever available to the public, forever. Also, the members can go back in the archive of our over 1,800 videos. Free viewers can go back up to 12 months. I'm only doing what I have to do because people are not, most people aren't, they'll take what they're getting for free, but if that's all I relied on was the ad revenue from YouTube, I wouldn't be able to fill the tank of gas in my car at the end of the month. It's that bad. So in order to survive, in order to keep this channel alive, trying to come up with ways that will make people want to be a part of a more exclusive community to make it worth parting with their hard-earned money. And I'm only doing that because YouTube has put me in the position where I don't know any other way to do it. A lot of other channels are just gone. You know, our good friends over at Tech Deals, I don't know what happened. They just ghosted it. And it's been over 11 months since their last video. I don't even know why their channel's still up. It's sad. It really makes me sad to see the passion that was there and the enthusiasm that was there become a burden. And so with the right community who appreciates the content, we go on forever. But the once appealing world of the public videos with advertising paying for it, that ship sailed about 2 years ago, 2 or 3 years ago, and it's just getting worse and worse and worse. So it's just a matter of finding the right balance. So what I've been doing is, like this week, we not only did a members only video on Monday, but it led to questions that I didn't have time to answer until Tuesday. And during that video, which again was members only, led to some questions I didn't have time for until Wednesday. So we had members only videos Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday this week. And they all were just a pleasure. There was no misunderstanding or miscommunication or, you know, it was the way it's supposed to be. So they're very rewarding for me, and therefore you're likely going to see more members only videos, because for me making them, they're just overall very positive experiences for me. The public videos, sometimes they're positive and sometimes they're not, and yeah, that can be disparaging when it's not.
Yeah, members only always keeps you in a good mood.
Well, I think the reason is, generally speaking, if somebody is new, and let's say you and your friends are sitting around for a drink at your favorite watering hole, and some stranger walks up to you and just immediately starts interacting with you without so much as an introduction, and starts making implications that whatever you guys are talking about is wrong or challenging. Who are you, and what business do you have? Maybe just listen a little more before you jump to conclusions and jump into the conversation, or be less critical and maybe have a friendlier tone. And that's how you're going to build friends, right? So nobody's signing up for membership blindly is what I'm trying to tell you. By then, before they sign up for membership, they're getting to know the community. They're saying, hey, this is really cool. I'd like to be a bigger part of this. And then that's how I can separate the viewers. I can say, okay, this person is a member, this person isn't. That tells me a lot about that person and where they feel they want to be in the community. And if they want to be a bigger part of it, they'll be contributing. And I appreciate that and I acknowledge that by doing things for the members I don't do for everything, for the free viewers. And the free viewers who never become members never know what they're missing because they never supported it. And so in that way, if there's nothing in it for me to offer that to the free public other than the potential for negativity, why even bother doing it for the public anymore? Why not just turn it members only and shut it down and be more of a Netflix type situation where it's paid content? And I don't want to do that because I feel like most of the public viewers are fantastic, really. But you can get somebody you've never seen before for whatever reason, stumble on your video, and they are they have this impulsive nature that they need to speak out into a crowd of people. It is just the wrong foot to get started on here, at least in a critical way. Right? If you're saying, hey, everybody, how's it going? Isn't it a great day? How's your day? That's the way you start. First impressions go a long way here, and in life in general. So just keep that in mind, because you might be the super nicest person in the world, and you might have some really great information to share with us. But boy, you present that right out of the gate in the wrong way without really realizing how it's coming across, and then it leads to, complete misunderstanding and gets very defensive on both sides, which is not welcome. It's not what I'm here to do. I don't enjoy that. And I do these videos because I do enjoy them. So anyway, the members only is just a great way to help keep us independent. That's what it's all about. So if you're wondering, why did that YouTube channel make a review on that product? Chances are they were sent the product for free or they were paid money to do it. Question you've got to ask yourself is, who's paying for all this content? This is a Friday here in Phoenix. It's nearly 3 o'clock in the afternoon. A regular person would be at work right now. So how is it possible I'm not at work? If I'm not at work, how is it possible I'm keeping the lights on? Where's the money coming from? Am I a trust fund baby? I wish. Did I win the lottery? I wish. I do what I love to do, and I figure out a financial way to make it happen. If I stop loving it, that's the problem. For me, it is. And I assume if you're here, you enjoy the content, and you wouldn't want that to end either, right? That's why I don't like having to force my hand with the contributions or anything. That's not why I do this. So long as we can make the bills at the end of the month, so long as we can maintain our unbiased independence, that's all that matters. If I could get rich doing it, all the better, but that's not a requirement. And if it's costing me money to do it and I have to tolerate disrespect, I don't want to do it anymore. So that's where I'm at. Or at least when I do it for members only, that is a solution. I'm not sure it's the only solution, but it is a solution. And so for those reasons, like I said, you'll probably see more and more members only and fewer public videos, because there's no money in it for the public videos anymore. The advertising it's pennies. So if we're all not having a good time, why bother? Now, what I'm looking for is the 24H2 update, and it's not offered to us yet. Sometimes it will come along immediately, and other times it takes a little while. I don't know how the Microsoft servers decide this, but we can put it on manually. So if I go back over here to full screen, and then we'll go to, let's see, check for updates. I want to check one more time. Now I could check this again in an hour and then see 24H2 is offered. One more time, I want to verify that, well, I wasn't paying attention. We didn't just get 24H2. Pretty sure we didn't. Should still be on 23H2. Yeah, we're on 23H2. I love that installed on date, 2/11 of 2047. That's going to stay there forever. It's not hurting anything, but it ain't right. The only way to fix that is a complete reinstall of Windows or a registry hack, but I would feel more comfortable with a reinstall of Windows at that point. But, If it bothers you to look at it, don't look at it. I mean, that's an easy fix too. It's really not a problem. It's just not normal. Let's see. We're going to go to, let's go to Microsoft Edge here. Let's say that we wanted to download the drivers for this computer or reinstall the operating system. Let's cover that first and foremost. You could go to Google and you can type in drivers GMKtec download. That'd be a nice generic search. And in the search results, we're going to look for a GMKtec website. The first one that appears here says drivers and software. This is not a third party. This is the manufacturer's website. So I'm going to click on drivers and software. And what GMKtec and what a lot of other mini PC manufacturers out of China do is they don't spend the money on servers and bandwidth and storage. They'll use Google Drive to distribute their drivers and software because it's basically free, except that if a bunch of people hit it at the same day, it might tell you they've used all their bandwidth up for today that Google offers for free to come back tomorrow. That's the downside. The upside is they don't really have that many customers, so likely the odds of you needing the same driver on the same Google Drive is probably under multiple different Google Drive accounts because they would exceed the free storage limit and bandwidth limit. And it's kind of a loophole, if you will, that they're taking advantage of to help keep the machines cheaper. Okay, and this website is not the easiest thing to navigate. As we can see, there's a lot of different models listed on the left. In fact, let me close out camera one so you can see the whole screen. This is a GMKtec, what do they call it, Nookbox G3. Screen over here. Well, apparently I've got a widget running. If you don't like these widgets, you can right-click, go to the taskbar settings, and just turn those off. So that won't happen anymore. That's by going all the way over to the left side of the screen. So before we get to Windows 24 H2, before we even talk about that, we could just simply download Windows 24 H2 right from GMKtec if you want to. So for the Nookbox G3, this is what we have. We have several different downloads. Operating system, download. I don't know what the difference is between Nookbox G3 and Nookbox G3. That's pretty strange. We have two G3 Pluses. I don't know what the difference is here, but this download is different from this download, okay? This one is just the drivers. So if I were to provide my own Windows 11 in the way that I always do on my builds, I could come over here and click to download the drivers, and that's going to be probably a 2 gig file. But if I come over here and download the entire 14 language full operating system with drivers, that's about a 17 gig download. It's big. So depending on your bandwidth, it might take a while, but it's available, and this is where you find it. Now this other one down here, I don't know why this download is separate or if it's pointing to the same thing. It's very strange. And you'll see there here, if we hover over the link, download link, and look at the very bottom left, it says drive.google.com, way down on the far bottom left, just above the taskbar. But if we hover over this link, it gives us kind of a hidden link here to something. I don't know what this is. Is this their own servers? No. Okay. So here's what they've done. They said, just in case the Google Drive bandwidth is used up for today, we'll also create free drives with Microsoft OneDrive. So it's the same files being provided through 2 free services. And clearly they've got multiple open accounts, which again, it's not illegal or anything like that. It's a loophole they're taking advantage of to avoid the expenses of a server and the maintenance. So you're going to be getting your files from basically a Google Drive or Microsoft OneDrive. And they are saying over here, it is explaining it. So they're not really hiding this. It does say the platform is Google Drive, OneDrive, Google Drive, OneDrive. So one is a backup to the other. If you're trying to download and you can't get it for any reason, it's the same files in 2 different platforms. And it's nice that they did that. I mean, even all this took a lot of somebody's time to get this all organized. And it's all in one place, so even no matter what model of GMKtec you've got, it should all be on this one URL. That's really cool. And if they provided their own server, much like ASUS and the big manufacturers do, they would obviously be paying big manufacturer prices for the product. So if you're going to be critical of that process, then you have to be willing to pay more, because somebody's paying for it. And by offloading that to companies like Google and Microsoft, these big multi-billion-dollar corporations, it's obviously not breaking any rules. It's definitely a loophole, but it's a very common workaround from these small Asian manufacturers to reduce overhead. So I wouldn't think of it as, being suspicious or anything like that. I completely understand why they're doing this. All right, let's try it and see how it works. Let's just download the drivers. Now, here, up at the top, it tells you operating system, software update content, driver, and platform. And then where the word download is, those are links. You see how the cursor changes from an arrow to a little finger? But over here, it doesn't do that because this is not a download, this is a description. And over to the right, well, this is a description of what's to the left here. Operating system, software update content. I don't know why they separated this into 2 boxes, but whatever system that made sense to them. So if we want the drivers for the NUC G3, which is what we have here, you just click download. That's going to take us to Google Drive. It's an RAR file. Now, some people don't know what an RAR file is. It's 1.67 gigs, so yeah, usually around 2 gigs is normal. It's going to scan for viruses, and it says download quota has exceeded, so you can't download it this time. That is what happens when you're using free storage. You don't get it endless bandwidth, even though you still aren't using all the storage. So there is a second link made available to us for the NUC Box G3 for the drivers. There's a separate download here, just below. And now that's going to open up a OneDrive link. And then again, it's the same file. It's an RAR. Hit the download. And there we go. We're grabbing it now. Now, by default, with all the latest Windows 11 updates, Windows 11 will open RAR files natively. I still like 7-zip. It's a free open source application to open zip files and RARs and 7-zip files, etc. But with the latest Windows updates, and while everybody talks about all the negativity with Windows updates, it's very rare to find anybody talking about all the good things about Windows updates. So when you hear people just constantly talking negatively, my recommendation is do what I do. Go the other way. Find out what the heck the other side is saying. If everybody's only talking about one side of the coin, what about the other side? How come we're not talking about that? Is there not another side? And then find your balance to your values. You might agree with one perspective over another, not necessarily what the masses are jumping on a bandwagon this week. These Windows updates, and all Windows updates, are always welcome in my world. They always make things better. Just because they sometimes have some effect of making things different doesn't mean it's worse. That is the cost of progress. And the older we get, I find, the less we like change. So the younger folks, they don't have a problem with this stuff. Generally speaking, they love it. The older folks that like their way, they're so angry at change, but have very little evidence to prove that it's somehow worse. It's just, I don't like it because it's different. And it's not a technical problem, it's a psychological problem. So I've downloaded these drivers, right? And if I hit open file, and this is a base install of Windows, you'll see without any third-party 7-zip or any other unzipping utility that used to be required before these updates, We can now open this natively, just like we would a zip file, and just tell it to extract. Should be an extraction button here. Where's extract? Add to favorite. Nope, nope, nope. Is it a right click? Nope. Let me double click it again. Well, there's all the files. I don't know why is it not extracting it. Is my screen not wide enough to see the option? I'm so confused. It opens it. If it opens it, it can extract it. Let's go back to the downloads folder. Let me take another look. Right click. Wait, is it already extracted? Hold on. Is there a file extension on there? Show me file extensions. Yeah, that's an RAR file. Oh, there it is. Extract all. So these drivers work on both the G2 NUC, GMKtec NUC Box G2 and G3 use the same drivers. That's why, even though they're separate listings on the website for the drivers for each model, that's to avoid confusion to the owner going, I don't see mine, right? Okay, so here's yours. And by the way, if you pay attention, it's actually opening the exact same location as the other model. Even here, it says just G3 here for some reason. And then there's an install.bat, that's a batch file. And then your actual drivers are right in there. Here's your video driver, your Bluetooth, your local area network, transflash card, which I don't think we have a transflash card on this one. That must be maybe a G2 option. Wi-Fi drivers, all that is all right here. It's all free and available for you. So if you're in your device manager and you notice there's something in here that's missing, let's say we have a device here, it says, I don't know what this is, then all you need to do is download this file and extract it, and then just click on any item in here, and you'll see this top bar just changed. And we now have this little, where is it? Add drivers. Hit add drivers and point it to your extracted folder. So we would go to downloads, and then we would go to the downloaded folder. And you don't need to go any further than that. Just click OK and click Next. And the system's going to automatically look for updated drivers and add them all universally across the board. Pretty simple stuff. So if there was anything in the device manager, that'll cure it. Unless it's something you've added, like you've plugged a printer in or you've plugged some USB device in that requires a driver. Obviously, GMKtec didn't provide you that device. So if that's what you're fighting with, you'll have to get the driver for that device in that scenario. But without any third-party devices, just the raw PC, if you're missing any drivers, that's how you put them back in. If you want to reinstall Windows, you can download their 17 gig Windows install, or you could just get the Windows 11 direct from Microsoft, grab these drivers, preferably grab them before you need them, but otherwise you can wait till Windows 11 is installed and then go and download them afterwards. So you shouldn't be stuck either way. So I just wanted to take a minute to point that process out, and that's pretty universal from all mini PC manufacturers. They should have the drivers available at their website, and in my opinion, especially on a brand new machine, you should not be getting drivers overall and in general, except from the manufacturer. Again, I don't live in a world of absolutes. There are always going to be some exceptions, but not usually in the first year or 2 years of ownership. That should be your default go-to, and you shouldn't even need that. But if in any case you do, it's there and it's available for you at no additional cost. As it should be. Okay, let me jump back over to, let's put camera 1 back up there and see what we've got going on in the chat room. Jim Kenny joins us and says hello. Welcome in, Jim. Ian Gooch said the temperature in London is 58 degrees Fahrenheit. Oh, that sounds lovely. A little bit chilly, but I don't even think I'd put a jacket on at 58. That sounds pretty nice. Nick Caffrey with a €10 super chat. Thank you, Nick. He says, sorry I'm late. Here's a fee for tardiness. Thank you, Nick. Mark Gaines contributes £10. He says, Carrie, it's time for another phone check. Oh, right on. All right, we'll get to that here. Just catching up. Again, Thomas Yeager with £5. And Ben Laird, thank you again. David Graham, thank you again. Davis Parsons, thank you again. And Thomas Yeager. Another shout out and thanks to you guys. And yeah, let me check my phone. Nick Poverman said he'd love 58 degrees Fahrenheit. Yeah. Steve Dodd sends a message to us and to Doug Betts. Thank you, Carrie and Doug, for your expertise and advice on computers and Windows. Recently bought an Asus VivoBook laptop for my wife, Carla, which met her requirements of a 15.6-inch screen with a good backlit keyboard and a numeric keypad. My requirements was a minimum 16 gig of RAM and 2 terabyte of NVMe storage. Talks about his setup procedures, going through the bypass NRO. Yeah. Made an image backup when he was all done with the whole process of updates and configuration for his wife. Once it was all done, made that image so that he could always put it back in an instant without having to go back through all that work again should the unexpected occur. Perfect. And he's thanking us for teaching him all the processes that he uses. He said he's a retired system analyst / programmer coding in COBOL on the old AS400, IBM AS400, with over 50 years of experience. And I greatly appreciate all of your insight and the help you provide. Well, thank you. This is from Steve Dodd. And yeah, it's very kind. And, you know, that never gets old. We really appreciate hearing from people that we're helping. We didn't even know that we've helped them unless they let us know. And that's more important, or just as important, as financial contributions and just being a part of the community. Is just a little personal message now and again that says, hey, you know what? I'm benefiting from the content that if you didn't have the content, it'd be a very different reality for us. That's the fuel, folks like me and Doug Betts. I think I can speak on behalf of Doug Betts. That encourages us. It makes us want to do this more. So thank you. That means a lot to me. Speaking of meaning a lot to me, Mark Gaines just sent a PayPal contribution, and a generous one at that. So a shout out, a cheers, mate. It sounds so weird. To our friend Mark Gaines in Northern Ireland, another very generous contributor. Here, that again, so much content that would otherwise be unavailable to us being made possible by our community here. We can't thank you guys enough for that. And Thomas Yeager, looks like he renewed his membership. Now on, well, at least month 2 or more. Thank you for that, Thomas. Okay, with all the drivers installed, so now the question remains. Let's go back here one more time. And I've got to go full screen so I can see this the way you guys at home see it. No, we didn't need to do any of that, obviously, because we have all of our drivers already. But that's how it's done. You don't have to manually install each driver on your own. The system, just point it to where the drivers are, it takes care of it. Now, if we close everything out, one more time, I want to go back to Windows Updates just to see if it's changed its mind for 24H2. Now, I will tell you, the way that they're doing their default install is a little different than the way I do my default. Like, we haven't even run my optimizer, but somehow we've got the This PC icon on the desktop, which if you leave a Windows install alone from Microsoft, it does not do that. There's nothing wrong with the fact they've done that. There's nothing suspicious about it, other than they've altered it from the Microsoft default. Now, there's a few other like language options and such that I don't see, because when I download Windows 11 from Microsoft, it asks me what language I want. I don't get the 24 language version that's universal, but I would if I were shipping computers to other countries where there are other languages or other keyboard layouts. Like in the UK, UK English is different from American English. So even the keyboards are laid out differently. But I'm not selling computers to the UK. I don't need a UK version of Windows. So if I want to keep all my Windows the same, regardless of, like, let's take, for example, let's look at that system date. You go back over, right click and go to System. When I install Windows, I'm never going to have an installation date of the future. That's just not going to happen. And the reason that happened is the BIOS was set at that date when Windows was installed. So there's a little slop in the detail at the manufacturer. There's some slop there. It doesn't hurt anything. It's just not the way Mom does it. It's different. And again, I just got done complaining about how people don't like change. But in this particular instance, if it's no effort for me to put it back in a way that makes me comfortable, for my comfort, not for any technical reason, I can easily, reassuredly use my copy of Windows 11, reinstall, just nuke this whole computer out, do my own refurbishment on it so that it remains consistently the same as all the other technical work that I do, so that if this system gets sold or passed on to somebody who later has questions for me, I don't have to then remember, oh, wait a minute, this is a little bit different because it wasn't configured the way I normally configure. That doesn't mean it's bad or it's wrong, but it does mean for me to support it, it makes my job a little tougher because I'm not going to remember. I'm going to log in remotely and say, why is this setting here instead of over there? Why do I see an install date of 2047 of the year? A lot of this does not technically matter, but it does matter to me to be consistent, and that every customer, regardless of what their price point is, every computer is configured the same, and that way all the support is pretty much the same. The fewer surprises I get, the better, okay? So just to give us an example and any justification to even do this, what I'm saying is you at home don't have to do this. But if you want to, I'm going to show you how. It was a long way to say that. So what we're going to do, I'm going to take my standard Windows 11 installation media. I've got a quick video that shows you how to make one of these. We can plug it into any USB drive. Give that a second and we should see it appear. Usually it'll appear down here, or we'll see it up here. And I'm getting nothing, so let me just check my plug it back in again. There it is. There's me not plugging things all the way in. Those are some tight USB ports. They'll loosen up in time, but I don't want you to send something back because it's brand new and everything's real tight. So anyway, let's go over here and let's go to Windows Update. So Settings, Windows Update. Then we're going to go to Advanced Options, Recovery, Advanced Startup. I'll hit Restart Now and tell it twice I want to restart now. That's going to restart the computer into our Advanced Start menu. And one of the options on the advanced start menu is to boot from the external USB drive. So I do not have to go into the BIOS and make any changes. It's just a smoother, easier way. You can do it the other way if you want to. Speaking of the BIOS, can I get in there? Here's what the BIOS looks like if you're curious. There's not going to be a lot for you to change in here. Certainly, you're going to be able to change more than you could on, say, a Dell or an HP computer. But overall, and I can't recommend this enough, you leave it alone. This has all been tuned to give you the best performance in exchange for the most reliability and quietest fan. There are typically ways that you could increase the power and get a little bit faster, but it's single-digit performance improvements that outside of benchmarks, you probably can't tell any difference. And I just recommend you leave it alone. Everything's been set here active factory for a reason. And, you know, there's our NVMe information made by a company called AirDisk, whoever that is. And again, at this price point, you're lucky to, you know, get as much as we're getting for as little as we're paying. We can see Secure Boot's turned on. It's customized, all this other stuff. It's all standard Windows 11 requirements. We can do our boot option priorities here if we want to override the boot settings. Not every BIOS has a boot override. So like down here, our boot override is here. So if we just wanted to boot from our USB drive one time, we'd go to boot override. If we always want to boot from our USB drive first, then we would change it in our boot option priorities. Best thing I can recommend is just leave everything alone. So, but that's what it looks like. Since we just happen to be here, I'm just going to make sure our date and year are set correctly. You'll see the BIOS was built on November 6, 2024 at 10 p.m., I guess. But that's not the date Windows is using. The date Windows is using is down here at the bottom, which represents the correct date and time now. This would have been set to 2047, and that's how Windows 11 got that install date. So somebody at the factory just wasn't paying attention. Are they all this way? And does it matter? The answer to either one of those really is the same. Who cares? But if you're like me and you want it all to be done to a certain precise level, be aware of it. You choose how you want to deal with it. This is what we can do, though, just as an excuse to show how we would wipe and reinstall Windows. We're going to discard our changes. Sorry, I want to exit, discard changes, and reset. Okay, now it's going to reboot and continue that initial reboot we started where we said we want the advanced startup menu. So that's going to come up in just a minute here. And when it restarts, it should restart off of my flash drive right here, not off the internal Windows 11. And you'll know because we'll get the setup screen. I also see F, whatever that said was a boot menu. That's a third way we can get to a temporary boot override. In Windows, there's so many different ways to do the same thing. Pick a way and be consistent. That's all I'm suggesting. Whatever works for you. Now, this is my Windows 11. All right, this is what I'm familiar with. Not a multi-language. This is English. That's it. There's no other option for me. I built it that way on purpose, and that's how Microsoft makes it available, right? When you download it from Microsoft, you have options of what language you want. For obvious reasons, English and US is what I only use. I hit next. I go through this as if I just built a brand new computer. Everything I do here is exactly the same as I've always done it. The only difference is when we get, like here, it wants a product key. I'm going to say I don't have a product key. Just ignore that for right now. We know we had Windows 11 Pro. If we don't have a product key either in the BIOS, if there's a product key in the BIOS, it'll skip and it won't even ask you what version of Windows you want. But because we know we had Windows 11 Pro, then we want to do Windows 11 Pro here. Then when we reconnect to Windows Update, it should recognize that this machine was activated before, regardless of whatever product key was used, and reapply the product key and reactivate the software. That's how Windows 10 and 11 has been working for a long time. But if I choose a different version than what was on here active, it will not auto-activate. It must match. So we had Windows 11 Pro. It doesn't matter if it was a multi-language edition. That's not an option here. It's just what version of Windows 11. If we gave it a product key, it would already know what version. I don't like giving it a product key during the install. I never have, and it's not required. But it is critical. If you want to carry over your previous product key, you must reinstall the same version. So it's either going to be Pro or Home in most cases. We're going to select Pro and hit Next. This is the same on a brand new build, by the way. I'm going to accept the license agreement, and now it's going to look for where possible targets for where Windows can be installed, and it's going to see disk 0 with multiple partitions. That's the factory install. And again, nothing wrong with the factory install. This is for demonstrative purposes only. We're going to select each one of disk 0 and delete the partition. This is going to completely erase the drive. It's going to be, any data that's on there is gone. So don't take this lightly. If you've got stuff on your drive you haven't backed up, or you don't want to reinstall your programs, don't do this. But this is a brand new build. I've got nothing to lose here. So we're going to go through every one of these disk 0s until we're just left with one disk 0. Each partition represents a separate virtual drive. So when we remove all the virtual drives, we're left with the actual drive, which is disk 0. That's why here, disk 1, disk 1, disk 1, disk 1. That's all the flash drive I've plugged in. And you can tell just from the small size, right? 16 gig flash drive. So I can't install Windows there if I wanted to, but I want disk 0, one single disk 0 option, all saying unallocated space. This is a factory reset. This is called a nuke and pave in the industry. We hit next. It's going to give us a summary. This is what you want to do. I don't know why that summary page was added to the installer. So you have one more click, and then that's it. It's going to format, create all the partitions it needs, format them, and then copy over all the Windows 11 setup files. When that's done, it's going to reboot, and we don't need the flash drive anymore. Then it's going to take the setup files it copied over, locally install them. Then it reboots again. Then we're going to create our username, our password, go through that whole setup, the out-of-box experience. And also, and I like to reiterate, I personally prefer to make sure I am not plugged into the network during this process. It's not too late. As long as we do that before we get to the second reboot, this will avoid a lot of completely unnecessary frustration. We'll deal with updates later once we know our install is clean and complete. So the cable right now can sit on the floor. Normally, if I was thinking ahead, I would have already done that. But it's, again, as long as we get there before Windows starts to be installed to the point where it can start checking for updates, it senses that network cable's attached. And whether you like it or not, it's just going to be sitting there. And if you have a slow ISP, that may not be a good time for you, right? You may say, I'd prefer to do this later. Like, I just want to get this installed, then I'll go to Windows Update, and then I can go to dinner. This is going to be a while. That choice is removed from you if you leave it plugged in. So again, I'm trying to keep everything consistent. It doesn't matter if it's a mini PC, a laptop, a desktop, it's always the same. It doesn't matter if it's a mini PC, a laptop, a desktop, it's always the same. The only difference on this one is we had to erase the existing partitions. Windows, it's going to be 24H2, so now I don't have to download and install 24H2 anymore. My installation date's going to be correct, and I will download those drivers again and add them the same way I did before. I should be done. In fact, I don't even have to do it that way because they've included the install.bat file, and simply double-clicking on install.bat should get all those drivers installed. So again, multiple ways to accomplish the same thing. The difference is not everybody gives you an install file. So if I install the drivers always the same way, I'm not reliant on the manufacturer changing my process. So for consistency, I do it the same way, even if the manufacturer offers an alternative way. But for you at home, that may be the only one you have. For me, I'm dealing with multiple manufacturers who don't agree on any processes, but there is a universal process that applies to them all. so I don't have to learn special steps for certain manufacturers. Keeps me consistent, and it keeps it keeps the machines as far as how much time it takes, or I'm not having to figure out how to do it differently for one manufacturer than another. So in some cases, the manufacturer's process may be more efficient. On the other hand, how would I know if I'm always doing it my way and my way meets my expectations? Ignorance is bliss. It works. That's what I stick with. But I give you the information so you can understand why I do it that way. Now, here's an interesting change. What's just appeared on my screen is it's loaded from the USB drive again, which it should not have done. That suggests to me that either something went wrong in the update in the installation process, or I have inadvertently changed the boot options in the BIOS and didn't realize I did it. So there's an easy solution for this. One is we can reboot, go into the BIOS and verify our boot option. Or the easiest thing is just unplug the power, take out the flash drive, plug the power back in, turn it back on, and see if it continues the Windows 11 install. If on the other hand, yeah, it's turning on. If on the other hand, it gives us a boot error, then something in the BIOS is setting correctly, or something in our install hasn't worked correctly. So I wasn't expecting that. But you see the toilet bowl flushing, so it must have been the boot order in the BIOS, because the NVMe is now booting. When it didn't have this as an option, it only... But the BIOS default should have been to take that internal drive first. So I must have inadvertently changed the order, and I didn't mean to. Another reason to just stay out of the BIOS. There's an example live on camera where I have somehow inadvertently changed it, and I don't know how I did that. But if I hadn't done that, we wouldn't have gone through this process. I caused my own problem. Not on purpose, but that's how it happens. So stay out of there. It happens to us all. Or if you're going to go in there, expect the unexpected. Whoopsie. We all make whoopsies. But just know where to point the blame is all I'm saying. All right. Folks are mentioning they're getting some stuttering and buffering on the video. We have experienced some drop frames here, quite a few. But right now the signal looks really good. So that may not be, there may not be much you can do about it. I think that's YouTube. That's between us and YouTube. But right now everything looks really good. Samuel says, I had to send back a GMKtec Ryzen 9 Mini PC because it wouldn't connect to Roger's Wi-Fi for some reason. Probably a defect, or it got damaged in shipping, and everything worked fine. Well, again, you know, when he says he got it from Amazon Canada. There's no such thing as a Roger's Wi-Fi. It's just Wi-Fi. You could put Carrie's Wi-Fi, or you could put Cox Wi-Fi. Or, there is no such thing. It's just Wi-Fi. So if the Wi-Fi is not working, one way you could tell would be to try a different Wi-Fi source, like a lot of smartphones have what's called tethering mode, and you can see if it works on the smartphone and it doesn't work on the router, it's probably a router misconfiguration. However, it's not your job to fix something, and I agree with you. If it doesn't work as expected, just send it back. Did you get an exchange, or are you going for a refund? I'm just curious about that. Frank Jimmy said the buffering is better over there now. Yeah, I think whatever that was, it's not continuing. Whenever that was happening, I wasn't paying attention to the OBS stats. But OBS stats look really good right now. I appreciate the feedback, and yeah, do keep me informed. Bring that to my attention if it continues. Now we're going for that third reboot, right? The first was booting off the USB. The second was installing Windows. And the third is, now that Windows is installing, this is the second half of the installation process, which is just tidying up the loose ends and configuration. And then it's going to take us through the out-of-box experience, where it's going to ask us, you know, the standard routine questions. Then we get to the desktop, then I can plug it into the network, then I can download the drivers, and then any updates for 24H2 instead of doing all the 23H2 updates or using the Windows 11 installation assistant to get around that. One way or another, you're going to be spending some time on it. Choose your path. Again, multiple ways to accomplish the same thing here. So let's go back through this process, and you'll see it's a little bit different on these screens. They just look a little different because I don't have an international copy of Windows 11. I have one specifically for the US. So while I still can change my region, all the defaults are going to be US. So just click yes. And a US keyboard, no secondary keyboard. It's going to look for the network. I'm going to say I don't have internet. I'm going to enter my name, user, just like I did before with a blank password. Location stays on. I'm going to say no on this and this, 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 and this. Windows is still configuring, so we do not plug into the internet yet. We're waiting for a desktop first. Otherwise, you could be hung up here whether you like it or not as it starts downloading updates, whether you like it or not. Could be 10 minutes worth of updates, could be an hour and a half worth of updates. Who knows? It doesn't tell you. So for that reason, along with the ease of which I can create that offline account, there's no benefit to connecting to the network any sooner than that. At least from the way I see it. John Lewis in Brazil said the buffering is better over there as well. Yeah, it seems like it's getting better over here too. My OBS stats are moving. The drop frame rate percentage is going down. So that means we're putting out more frames that aren't being dropped. So that percentage moves the other way. When more frames are being dropped, the percentage moves up of dropped frames. And we're sending out 30 frames a second, as you can imagine, on a 3-hour video, or 2.5-hour video so far. That's a lot of frames. So when it glitches, you'll get like a bunch of drop frames, and then hopefully it overcomes the glitch and then smooths out. I think that's what's happened. Now we're at the desktop. Now we can plug the internet back in. Now don't worry about your activation and stuff like that yet. Let's just plug the internet in one thing at a time. Once I plug in the internet and it establishes with an IP address with my router, you'll see a bunch of the icons on the start menu start to populate. Now, it's possible that the driver this requires, because it's a 2.5 gig network connection, may not be defaulted in the Windows 11 24H2 installer. That's the downside of getting a more advanced later technology, is it may not yet be adopted into the Windows 11 installer. If that were the case, I would go to another computer, go download that drivers folder and copy it to a flash drive, and then just put all my drivers in now. But as I mentioned, there's always multiple ways to accomplish a task with a computer. It's not just one way. The way I like to do it is I like to grab a USB to Ethernet network interface card anytime this happens. And I plug the network interface card into any USB port, and this network interface card is about $15. And I can use it forever and ever and ever, unless I break it or lose it. I can move it from computer to computer to computer. And what this does for me is this gives me the built-in driver from Windows 11, and I plug my internet in here instead, just for now. I need my internet so I need my network card driver to get my network card driver. So we have to use a basic network card at first. The fact that that start menu just populated tells you we just connected to the network. We are now on the internet. So activation couldn't even have been possible before this. Now, once we're on the network, we can do a couple of different things. The first thing I want are my drivers. So if I had gone online and backed those drivers up onto a flash drive, I could have done that instead of this. But now that I have this, I can go back to Let me go full screen. Let me turn off camera one for a second so you can see this whole process. I'm going to open up Microsoft Edge. Well, actually, let me check my install date since that was bothering me. Right click, let's go to System. Let's see, when was Windows installed? 2047? No, 2025. That's the way it should look. Again, it's a nitpicky little thing, but it was bugging me. If we look in the device manager, we're probably missing a bunch of stuff in there, right? Right click, device manager. And give that a second, and you'll see there's a couple unknown devices. Yeah, we don't have to worry about what those are. It doesn't matter. All we have to do is go back to Microsoft Edge. Remember, this is starting for the very first time on a drive we completely nuked and reset with a clean install. So we have to go through all this again. And then I'm going to go to Google because I like Google search results better than Bing's. And I'm going to type in GMKtec, GMKtec driver download. First link right here, gmktec.com, drivers and software. This should all start looking familiar. We're going to go to the Nookbox G3. This box here. How do I get rid of that? No thanks. Okay, G3, remember I had to do the, come on now. This one right here is the one we needed. Click to download. This takes us to OneDrive because Google Drive had used its bandwidth up for today. We'll download that. The 1.7 gig. This is just a repeat of what we've already done in a real world example of what we would do if we weren't prepared. If I was prepared, I would have already have done this and put it onto a flash drive before resetting my drive. But for whether you didn't think about it or circumstances led to a situation where you weren't prepared, for this reason, I recommend you download the drivers and put them away, because when that unexpected thing happens, you won't be in this position I'm in where I have had to plug in a USB to network adapter to get my network drivers, or I would have to go to a different computer, download the drivers on that computer, and then put them on a flash drive. If I made it part of my process when I got the computer to back up those drivers and have them and put that in a drawer and hope I never need them, best case scenario. Worst case scenario is you do need them and you don't have a network card USB interface. Well, just pull that back up with the drivers out. What's happening, Mara?
A lot of traffic today. Check your email again.
Check my email again. I'm a popular guy today.
You are.
All right. Well, it's good timing because we're here waiting on this download here, which is not indicative of my internet speed, but rather of Microsoft's OneDrive is probably getting hammered. They're not the fastest. So if it is a little slow, it may not be your internet service that's slow. It just may be the server you're talking to, especially when it's a free download service like this. They're not usually the best. They're the best for the price, though. All right, checking emails. Oh, our friend Mark Leibowitz sent an Amazon gift card. He says, I'm a little late with my birthday gift. Happy belated birthday to Mark Leibowitz, he says. Happy birthday to me. And hope for many more years of channel membership. $61? Is that your age? Are you 61? For some reason, I was picturing Mark Leibowitz being in his 40s. Thank you for the Amazon gift card. Everybody say happy birthday to our friend Mark Leibowitz there in Chicago. Right on. Thank you, Mark. I also love hearing Mark's stories with regard to some of the problems he's had to resolve for customers. That never gets old. I love hearing those. And again, a thank you to Mark Gaines and Peter Laycock and Charlie Purdy for their PayPal and Amazon gift card contributions, in addition to their generosity in Super Chat and memberships. Well, I'll tell you what, it would be a very different channel without the support of our members. I cannot emphasize that enough. I can't even find the words for it. But again, happy birthday, Mark Leibowitz. He says, how I wish I were still in my 40s. Mark, I wish I was in your 40s. Frank Jimmy says 30 minutes. What's 30 minutes? The download time? Let me see. Every time I go to look at the chat room, I have to make the main screen smaller so I can't see what you guys see. Say 30. Oh, I know why, because my resolution's at 4K. That's not helping. It's not helping, Carrie. Let me let's take this like that. You must have put it, you know what's happening is it's downloading Windows updates in the background, plus it's downloading that file at the same time, plus it's installing the updates, it's downloading at the same time, and we already have a budget box here. We're working the heck out of it right now, but it has never once made any noticeable fan noise to me this whole time. The entire video, I cannot tell if this is on or not. So for better or for worse is all I'm saying. Most people like it quiet, but quiet also implies it's not a rocket ship because those require rocket engines. You know, it's going to get loud is what I'm trying to say. So the faster processors eat more power, generate more heat, require more aggressive cooling. They cost more money. All right, let's just change this to display 1920 by 1080. Yeah, that's why it's taken so long. And then I can also do those same things here with edit the power plan. Now my power plan is going to be different. Here it says turn off the display after 5 minutes, put the computer to sleep after 15. I'm going to say never in 3 hours, so it doesn't go to sleep on us while we're live, or turn the monitor off while we're live, because that's always have to explain to people nothing's wrong. And then I turn the those taskbar widgets off. We'll right click on taskbar settings, turn those off. You can keep them on if you want. This is my preferences. Search permissions, right there. Last option, turn it off. Gets rid of that cartoony thing down there. Close that. We'll go over here to downloads and see what's happening. Open downloads page. There, now we got a bigger screen. 22 minutes left. Oh, hey, okay. So, another reason why it's good to have done this beforehand. You know, I could have taken a minute and copied that file I previously downloaded. This is bad planning on my part. Again, it's more user error. It's not a Windows problem. This is a user issue. And it just so happens, I think I have a copy of this download. When I was getting ready to film for today, I was checking out the support page, making sure the links worked. And I don't think I deleted the files I downloaded. So if I step in the other room, yeah, let me check real quick. Let me step away. I'll be right back. I forgot I have to climb up a bunch of stairs. All right, let's go back down the stairs. Get my exercise in today. The office used to just be down the hall, but we've had to clear everything out for the renovations and everything's been moved. So while I was away, I figured, well, we're just waiting on a download anyway. Here's what I can do. This is my Windows 11. Let's get rid of that. Let's get my Windows utility drive here. And without interrupting what we're doing, just plug that in. Oh, wait, I have a better idea. Hold on. Let me take that back out. Backup idea. Hold on one second. We're still waiting on the download anyway. I'm just hoping I can speed this up a little bit over here. Behind the scenes a little bit. All right, guys, third time's the charm. Let's see if this will work a little better for us. As far as time, it's the same file, just copied off the machine from upstairs. See what happens. Right click, full screen. Okay. I guess I can just cancel that. Forget it. Let's close that. Go here. Go to my flash drive and just drag this bad boy out of here. Now I did mention that this has an install.bat file, and for the sake of being comprehensive, going through all the options, we'll do the install.bat file this time instead of the other way I showed you previously. Where is my, those are view options. I don't want view options. I wanted, oh, I guess I got to click on it first. Right click. No. Those are still view option. Well, I'm trying to figure out why I'm not getting the extract option. Just open, explore, and copy file. Move it. Maybe just right click right on it. Right click, show. Oh no, right there, extract all. I don't know why it's not in the file explorer. Okay, that's fine. And we'll just extract it right here onto the desktop. It doesn't matter where you extract it, just so long as you know where it is. All right, so just again, for being as thorough as possible, we're going to do this another way. And you can pick which way resonates with you. So this should be our extracted folder now. See, this folder has a zipper on it. That's the zipped. This is the extracted. We want to use the extracted. I imagine we want to run this as an administrator. I don't know if it's required, but it can't hurt. So I right-click, choose Run as Administrator. And more info, and run anyway. Because what we're doing is we're putting drivers in, and we're doing it in a little hodgepodgey kind of a way here. So this warning comes up and says, you know, this is how you get viruses. Another reason not to follow this process if you're at all nervous about it. In fact, it doesn't seem to be doing anything at all for some reason. Let's take a look at what is in this install batch file. Let's open it with Notepad, see what's in there. What's it doing? Oh, okay. So it's going into this directory, I don't know why, and adding all the INF files into it, using the plug-and-play utility command to add these drivers. I've never seen it done like that before. But we may need an actual command prompt to run that in. It may not run in a window. If I look at the device manager, did it do anything? I don't think it did. Yeah, well, to heck with that process. I don't want to sit around and remember I said I don't want to have to figure out some manufacturer's unique problem-solving solution. I have my own. Now, again, I want you to pay attention up here. How many items do you see here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Click on any single item. Now, how many options do we have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I have had people tell me, Kerry, the option's not there. And I'm like, it is there. Again, it's the user that has the bug. All right, so we educate people when we understand what the problem is. Now, I can go through the same process by hitting this button right up here, pointing it to our desktop where we extracted those files right here, and click OK and click Next, and it automatically finds the drivers it needs or that apply. It puts them in for us automatically. So if there are items there, like for example, a TransFlash card reader, we don't have a TransFlash card reader. We don't have to make that decision. The system's doing this faster than you can, and the system is grabbing only the files that are applicable with regards to what hardware you have. And because this covers 2 different models of Mini PC, clearly they're different model numbers because they're spec'd a little different, but they share the same driver file because they're more similar than they are different. So instead of you having to figure out, which you would have had to have done years ago, those days are behind us now. This is how we do it today, that if you want to do it efficiently and remove any chance of error, this is how you can guarantee consistency, and doesn't matter what computer you're on. With Windows 10 and 11, this is the way. All right, this wasn't a way earlier, but this is what we can do now. Why wouldn't you want to have it more consistent, less prone to human error or oversight, mistakes, overlooking, I mean, when you can just push a button and make the computer do it? I mean, isn't that why we have the computers to begin with, is to do stuff for us? Now, when this is done, every driver we need should be in there. When we reboot for those drivers to take effect, I can take this USB network card out, plug the network back into the port in the back. We've already copied all the files off the flash drive. We don't need that in there anymore, but I don't know if any USB drivers are being installed, so I don't want to disrupt anything during the process, even though it'd probably be fine. There's no benefit to me doing that right now. Nobody's waiting on it. Hey, I need those drivers. Are you done with them? No. Wait your turn. So there's no reason to rush through things. You're not getting it done any faster. Slow and steady. I'm going to keep saying it. It's going to consistently be faster than trying to take shortcuts, which probably will work out, But when they don't, it defeats all the benefit of all the previous shortcuts, because now you've now gone backwards. So I don't want to go backwards unless I have to. I will take steps to make sure I am cautious and process things one thing at a time, reboot in between, so I know exactly when the change happened, if anything negative is a result. And while that may take longer overall, it is faster when you're doing multiple machines, because it just takes one to not go the way you think it should, and you're just stuck. Where do I begin to even diagnose this? For a lot of people, they just wipe it and start over again. Well, so much for saving time. So that's my logic. That's the way I do it. But you don't have to do it that way, obviously. It's just an explanation as to the method behind the madness. Did we get them all? Right click, screen. Yeah, close and restart. While it is restarting, I can just go ahead now. Now I can unplug the adapter, plug my, and by the way, I'm not racing, but you know, might as well do it now. Set that back on the floor where it goes right now. USB drive. Oh, wait a minute, that's my drivers. I'm not keeping that. For the cost of a USB drive, just to download your drivers before you need them, put them on a flash drive, put them on some external storage, put them on a backup drive that you should already have anyway. They're free, and grab them so that when you need them, if you need them, you already have them. And you don't have to go around this workaround, okay? Now with that, if we look in our device manager, right click, device manager, everything should be happy in there now. What a shock. Who would have thought? Now I can hit Windows Update and grab any updates that are missing for Windows 24H2, which keeps us current. All of our drivers are installed, everything's happy. I can turn this feature back on. I can go back under Advanced Options, and again, just like I showed previously, turn these on. Optional updates are 0, and then just back. And there we go. We're downloading and installing much fewer updates now. But bear in mind, if it says cumulative on the update, it's going to be a while. Even if it's a small download. I don't know what Microsoft is doing, but they sure are taking their time on that install. And that's normal. It's not on you. It's not your internet. All right. That's it. We just passed the 3-hour mark. So I've accomplished what I feel is a very thorough process of a reinstall of the OS, the differences in the OS, the date and time. I don't see anything here that changes my opinion that this is a great buy. I still recommend it, and the reinstall is not necessary. Just one way or the other, you're going to be spending time on Windows updates, or you can use the Windows 11 Update Assistant to get you to 24H2. And in my opinion, once again, you should be getting that machine fully updated before you start to install one piece of software or any printers. None of that until you do all this first. Once all that's working and you know you have a stable foundation upon which to build upon, then set up your email and your printer in whatever order you want to do that in. All right? Otherwise, keep it unplugged, because it's all future diagnostics when things go wrong. One thing at a time. Make sure it works. Move on to the next thing. If possible, reboot in between things. Make sure it still boots okay. Slow and steady. Then you're going to have a nice solid foundation. Once you get it all done, make an image backup of it. You'll never have to do that again. Well, at least not until you have a new image to back up, which may be 25H2 sometime in the fall. Other than that, it's a fully capable machine. It's very quiet. I don't recommend trying to upgrade these. You can. I don't recommend it. Just buy it with the specs you want. It will save you money, and it won't open an opportunity for inadvertent damage. over a very simple upgrade. That's how it happens. People go, this is easy. I don't need to worry about what Carrie says. Whoops. I don't know where the screws went. I can't begin to even describe the scenarios that people think they're immune from. And it's like, well, the only way you're really immune from it is don't do it. And if you are going to do it, and that happens, you were warned. So at that point, there's nothing else I can say. It's cheaper for you to get this with a bigger drive, if you need a 512 gig, than it is for you to add your own. Unless you already have one laying around. The idea behind this is it's ready to rock and roll. Take it out of the package and eat it, you know, not literally. It's ready to be used. If that is not ready to be used for you, don't order it that way. Order it the way you need it. The reason I'm showing this is because I am assuming, based on the feedback I'm getting from a lot of viewers, they can't afford a new computer. Well, if you can't afford a new computer, you can't afford to tell me what your minimum specs have got to be. You got to pick one or the other. So if what you need is a computer that's Windows 11 compatible because your Windows 10 computer is going to expire and your choices are to pay $30 to get that another 12 months out of that old box or spend $130 on a new machine, that's as good as it gets. You can't get it any lower than $130, except that ACEMAGIC machine or ACEMAGICIAN that I showed at $111. And I can't believe how much you're getting. And for somebody to say that's not enough, you've got to spend more. That's an incredible value for what you're getting. So either you're spending more because you have these demands, or you don't have any money and you're going to say, what's the best I can get for the least I could spend? That's what today's video is for. It's not for adjusting it. You're going to spend more money doing that, and you're going to potentially void your warranty. And if you're already in that financial position, and this is the decision-making processes you have, we're never going to be able to help you because you're always going to dig yourself deeper no matter. That's just bad decision-making. It's no wonder you don't have any money. If you would take care of it, it'll last you for years and years and years. Leave it alone. Use it for the intended purpose for which it was purchased, or spend more money. Pick one. This video is intended, and I want to be very clear, for people who want the absolute minimum at the cheapest price possible that I consider acceptable. Not what you can change and upgrade to later. No, buy something else later. Don't worry about later today. Let's worry about today. And today, April 11th, 2025, this GMKtec and the earlier ACEMAGICIAN I sold are the cheapest machines that I will recommend, period. Those prices are subject to change. Inventory is subject to deplete and not be available. And if the tariffs, the results of these tariffs from China may make these machines only go up in price. That's very, very likely unless things change very quickly. I have no indication anything's changing anytime soon. I hope it does. Worst case scenario is these are going to sell out. We're going to be back to pandemic level distribution with regards to China. And that means they won't be available, or they're going to be 2 and 3 times the price. Remember how much video cards we're going for? That's all going to happen again. So if you need something, there's never been a better time at this cheapest for the best I can get that's going to last a couple of years. And then hopefully when you're ready to replace this, all that stuff will be behind us and everything will be smooth sailing again. All right, that's the whole point of my video today. It's not the best computer money can buy, but it is the best computer I can recommend for the amount of money. That's it. May not be for everybody. Does anybody here still have a Windows 10 computer they're using because they cannot afford a new computer? Any of you in the chat? I'm just taking a poll. I'm curious because I sure do get a lot of comments and emails. I don't know how these people are eating, but somehow they have money for everything else, but they can't replace a computer when they're this cheap. So I'm just trying to figure out How many of you are in that situation or know somebody in that situation? Or did I make this video for one very vocal viewer? Because I'm under the impression there's a lot of people out there making this claim. They're stuck with no way out. So I'm just trying to figure out, are any of these folks who share that perspective joining us right now in the chat? Oh, Marsman wants to know if it reactivated. Thank you, Marsman. I was going to check that. Let's go take a look. We'll right-click back over here on my side to full screen. And by the way, feel free to answer my earlier question. There is a delay between when I talk and when you hear me. So I'm going to distract myself with this. I give you guys a chance to respond. Let's go back over to up here. We'll just type in activation. Activation. That should give us the option to see if Windows is activated. Yes. The product key was reassigned from Microsoft Windows servers, and the product was activated in the background. We don't have to do a thing. That's how Windows 10 and 11 works. No Microsoft account is needed. Obviously, the video is live, unscripted, and unrehearsed. I have no control over those results, but those are always the results I get unless I install the wrong version of Windows. You never need a product key more than once unless you're dealing with other products. Like Microsoft Office, if you reinstall it, you got to reinstall the product key unless you've tied it to your online Microsoft account. But with Windows, you don't need that. So Windows is an exception to the rule, but thank you for reminding me to check that. Bajan Guy said, I ordered the ACEMAGICIan you showed us earlier. I'll send back the GMKtec I ordered last night. What do you like better about the ACEMAGICIan, just out of curiosity? The cheaper price, the $20 less, or is it something else, the smaller size you find appealing? Everybody says they're running Windows 11 already. Tony's RC said he still uses a Xeon E5. Okay. Patrick T says, I'll be able to afford one in the future if I can get my real-life family to not order DoorDash so much. The household desktop with Windows 10 is from 2011, and a gaming laptop is still running Windows 10. See, that's really fascinating to me because hey, Mara?
Yes.
Have we ever used DoorDash?
Ever?
Yeah.
No.
Why? It's too expensive.
It's not just that, it's also for
hot food and not warm.
hot food, being able to, like, for example, sit down and have whether you're served or
but even like let's say we're relaxing and just not in the mood to go out. What can we have delivered?
Usually pizza.
Have we ever had a pizza delivered?
Yes.
How many times have we had a pizza delivered?
Maybe once.
Once?
Maybe once.
See, to me, in the way I was raised, that is a luxury item. Do you remember with the delivery fee and the tip for the driver, how that changed the price of the pizza? Pretty sure it was like $20 to $40. That was $20 pizza, but after delivery fee and tip for the driver, I think it doubled.
Fee, delivery fee,
yeah.
And tip.
It had to almost double the price for what's 2 blocks down the road. Like if you're in the delivery area, it's close. We could just get in the car and go. And that means if we could get 2 pizzas, then we can get a pizza tonight and a pizza tomorrow if we go get it, or we get 1 pizza tonight and no pizza tomorrow by paying twice as much. So if people are saying, people in my family ordered DoorDash, but we still have a computer from 2011, they have the money for a new computer.
Then you have people like me with a very strict diet, so most of what's delivered is not good.
Well, that's true. That's true, that if the order's messed up, you're kind of screwed. What are you going to do? So we don't use it. And believe me, we could, but even we don't feel like we have that kind of money. And furthermore, I think it's, I see it as kind of a sign of laziness. Like if you're disabled or something, it's different. But if you have the ability to go get it, it'll be hotter, fresher than waiting for a delivery driver, and ultimately cheaper. So the amount, if we ate at DoorDash, or if we ordered from DoorDash 3 times, it would more than cover the cost of this computer that would last for years. Anyway, I'm just curious because it's just interesting where people prioritize their money. But nonetheless, it's not meant in a negative way. It's just I see the world a little differently than that. I don't even like ordering delivery like direct from any company, even if it's no third party, like if it's not Uber Eats or DoorDash or Grubhub, just the company itself offering delivery. It still doesn't arrive hot enough. And it's still, there's a service fee, delivery fee, and the drivers expect a tip. Well deserved, by the way, because I can't get off my butt and go get it. Now, if it's coming from across town, or if I have to order it and have it frozen and shipped from another state, like let's say I want a deep dish Chicago pizza, authentic, not in the frozen food section of the local grocer, but actually from the restaurant in Chicago that flash freezes, packs it in dry ice. Of course, I'm going to pay more for that, but that's a real special occasion type deal. And on top of that, it's still cheaper to do that than to get a plane ticket, go to Chicago to have a pizza. Like comparing the price of either driving or flying to what it's going to cost to have it delivered or go without. But that may be like a once a year thing I splurge on for something from Michigan. Oh, I know. I ordered some cherry flavored barbecue chips that I found in Michigan last time we were there. They're not sold in Arizona. I found them on Amazon for $12. Now, $12 is a lot of money for a bag of chips. However, they're being shipped to my door from 2,300 miles away. There's no cheaper way for me to get them. And that $12 it's a luxury item to me, which really isn't a lot of money, but for what I'm getting, it's a little pricey. But I can't get them anywhere else. And if I want them, and I don't want to get in the car and go get them, because that'd cost me a few $100s in gas and hotels. Seems like a reasonable price to pay, and I'll get it out of my system. Okay, that was good. Maybe another year. So that's why I'm curious how people say they can't afford it. Like, how are they eating, you know? John Williams said DoorDash delivers McDonald's. I'm just as shocked about that as anybody else. The only thing is, I'm wondering, are people using like food assistance vouchers from the government to pay for this? Or is it really their own money? Like, do the people who work at McDonald's as their only source of income order any food to be delivered via a food delivery service from another fast food or even the same fast food chain? They probably can't afford that. And what's worse, the food's not hot. I don't care what people say. I can go to McDonald's and get a burger and nuggets and fries, and it's hot and fresh. And if it isn't, I just take it back to the counter. Hey man, these fries are room temp. Give me some new fries. Cost me less. I get the food quicker. And if there's any issues, I deal with it right there in the store. Oh. All right, we're ready for a reboot here. Let me go back over to the chat and take a look. Frank Jimmy says, I'd be worried the DoorDash driver would eat my French fries. Just order from 5 Guys. There's enough for both of you. Patrick continues on. He goes, we don't have delivery here, so we either have to order DoorDash or go to McDonald's, Taco Bell, Pizza Hut, sub sandwiches, and sometimes use my money to do the delivery. So if Mara wants something, I would rather go and get it. Like if she's like, oh, I'll just order this delivery. No, we're not rich. So I can get in a car and push a pedal and turn a wheel. That's not very hard. I can drive the 2 blocks to the place, put your order in and get it. Sometimes she calls it in and prepays for it. She likes a place here called salad to go. Like there's not anything on the menu I would eat. But you'll put the order in and prepay, and we just go through the pickup window. We don't even have to get out of the car. Pick it up. No reason to have that delivered. And by the way, it has to be a specific way, right? So she'll check it while we're at the drive-up window to make sure that they haven't put something on there she can't eat. So we have an opportunity to hand that back if need be. Say, you got to fix this, which very rarely happens, but just not an option with delivery services, or it's way more complicated. Like when we were growing up, McDonald's was a special thing. It wasn't an everyday. If we were going to McDonald's, it was normally we ate at home. So we're talking the 1970s. McDonald's didn't get sort of like the everyday thing, like a normal thing everybody had all the time, until sometime after, because I remember they used to not have a kids meal. They used to not have chicken nuggets. I think all this happened in the late 70s and early 80s. And then that's when suddenly eating McDonald's just became expected. But that was ingrained in me at a pretty young age that, you know, that was a luxury. So that's, you know, if you're wondering, I'm not just like cheap or anything. I just want my money to go as far as possible. I work way too hard to just give it away. Unless I know I'm helping somebody personally, that's a different story. Ben Laird said he's got a GMKtec, the G5 model. He says he's not had a problem with it. Joe McCharlington says he'll order DoorDash when the shipping is free. Sometimes they have promotions, and I don't tip. I mean, I don't know. I feel like if you're not going to tip, it's not the driver's fault. You know what I mean? It doesn't seem right. I'd rather just not use it. But that's just me. Frank Jimmy says he does a lot of in-app ordering and pickup at the store. Hey, I'm all for that. No problem. Sean Kelly says TPM has been annoying. How has TPM been annoying, Sean? I mean, having to enable an alarm on my car is annoying, and having to lock my doors is annoying, but I'm not doing it because I want to. I'm doing it because I have to. Like, if I don't do it, the consequences are far more severe. By making it easy for people to get into my car, even though it's not an invitation, people take it as invitation. If I drive with my windows down and I'm stopped at a light and there's, say, somebody homeless sitting on the corner begging for money, they think that's an invitation to talk to me. If the window's up and it's tinted, that conversation isn't happening. And it's so annoying to me that my window being down is somehow an invitation to engage. It is not. Leaving your doors unlocked is seen as an invitation to take what's in your car. Not setting your alarm is more of an invitation to make it easier because you don't want to be bothered. It's a hassle to have to lock things up. But we live in a society where if you don't, the opposite hassle happens, where now things are being taken from you. And online it can be personal data or your identity that only you value, by the way. Doesn't affect anybody else. If my car gets stolen, that has no impact on you. So I don't do that because I enjoy it. I do it because I don't want to have to buy another car. I can't afford it. I need to take care of the one I got. And I got to make sure I roll those windows up and lock those doors and set that alarm. Even if I'm just getting gas at the gas station and I need to go into the store that's 20 feet away in Phoenix, lock that door, roll those windows up. Because the minute, and I assure you, there's plenty of news items you can find here on YouTube. Somebody opens their car door and leaves their engine running. They got a baby in the back seat. They want the air conditioning to run because it's 110 degrees outside. They're filling up the tank with gas. And as they get out of the car with their back to the car, walking to the pump, There's another person coming out from behind another car, slipping into the driver's seat and taking off with the car and the baby. Because you just left the door open and the engine on. And if you didn't do that, your car wouldn't have been taken. That doesn't mean it's their fault. But they could have prevented it. But it's a hassle. Welcome to TPM. Bajan Guy said he wants the ACEMAGICIAN because it's cheaper, $111 versus $134, plus the additional memory going to 12 gigs of DDR5 versus 8 gigs of DDR4. Solid logic, sure. You know what? Let me know what you think of it when you get it. I'm very curious. We may end up ordering one of those to evaluate it, but I don't know if by the time I order it and get it and evaluate it like this one, the price goes back up or the sale goes off. But these have gone off and on of sale constantly. So I expect the $10 off coupon to come back. I just don't know when it comes back and how long it stays back. Usually within a matter of a day or two, it'll be back. That's what the pattern has been. I have not seen them sold out yet. John Williams said, when I moved from Miami to Madison, Wisconsin, people asked me why I locked my doors to my car, and it just became a habit. There's no downside to it. I visited a family member in a rural farming community who left his keys in the ignition, just where he left them. He closed his doors, but he never took the keys out of the ignition. And I'm sure my jaw hit the floor. What? He goes, yeah, we don't have trash pickup either. We have a burning barrel. A burning what? Like it's a whole different, you don't have trash pickup? What do you do with the stuff you can't burn? Oh, I know the bar owner down in the main part of town, and they let me use their dumpster once a month. And you just leave the keys in the ignition? Why wouldn't I? Now, I understand habit. It's a completely different lifestyle. Who's going to steal it? The deer and the elk? I don't know. Isn't there crime everywhere? Phoenix is the 5th largest city in the United States, and where you've got a lot of people, percentage-wise, you're just going to get a lot more. You know, if the same 2% of crime occurs in a town of 30,000 as the same 2% of crime that happens in a town of 5 million, what are the odds you'll be a victim? So just take a few steps to avoid that. And that's all TPM really is. Al Perez with a $2 super chat says, hello, Carrie and chat. Welcome in, Al. Thank you for the super chat. Frankie B, there's our friend Frankie. The mini PCs that we sent to Frankie, he says these are running great, no problems. Hey, Frankie, you let me know if you need any more. Frankie's a great friend of the channel, and anything I can do to help our members back, reach out to us in our email. And if it's possible, we will gladly assist you however we can. Try to return kindness with more kindness. If we can, we will. And appreciate the update, Frankie. I'm glad to hear those are still working well for you. I expected them to, but it's nice to hear, just to make sure. Usually no news means good news. Usually. Frank Jimmy said, there is a McDonald's near me that renovated. It went down to only one register and added a pickup shelf for online orders. Rarely is there a cashier at the register. Yeah, I think that's a fad. Sort of like self-checkout became sort of a fad, and now stores are realizing that that's the free ticket to shoplifting by letting people check themselves out. And sometimes it's unintentional. They just don't know how to run the register correctly, or that the item scanned correctly. And so they're getting a lot of product loss. As a result, a lot of places, depending on where you are in the United States right now, have shut down some places have shut down all of their self-checkouts. They realized they're getting way too much of product loss. It's cheaper to have a cashier ring them up. And also, it processes faster. There's nothing worse than being behind somebody who's not technically capable, comfortable, and they have no idea how to use the machines. Even after all these years, they're still dumbfounded. How do I get behind them, Just give me a cashier, that's all they do all day. Beep, beep, beep. Let somebody with experience do this. They're less likely to make a mistake. And companies are realizing what they thought was going to be a cost savings is costing them even more. And I think that's what's happening with like McDonald's doing what they're doing. We'll see. I think it's a trend. Frank Jimmy said, when I worked in corporate America in New York, I'd stop at 7-Eleven for a coffee. Unbelievable how many people would run into the store and leave their cars running and unlocked. That's a car thief's dream. And especially if you're talking New York City. If it's upstate New York, if you're up around, Buffalo, Canada, probably nowhere near as bad. But John Williams said he's got a Cyber Geek Mini PC and it works great. Wonderful. I think that was one we sent to John. It's still running good. That just goes to prove to you, you don't have to take my word on this stuff. I know people that are not familiar with these mini PCs are skeptical. They must not be as good or last as long. There's got to be something. No, there isn't. They really are that good. They're not perfect. You could still get a bad thing happen now and again, but it doesn't happen any more or any less than a desktop. They cost a lot less, take up less space, they require less power, and the need to upgrade them is really removed because those days are kind of behind us. Technology is outpacing, the hardware technology is outpacing the software. So until something changes on the software side, even an N150 like this is more than adequate for regular everyday use. And if you don't believe me, try it. Because the only reason I think you would think that this is not good enough is you've never used one before. Prove me wrong. Frank Jimmy said this was Long Island. Yes, here in one of the boroughs. But Long Island, isn't that like where some of the people with money live? Or do I not know New York very well? Ben Laird said, when was TPM introduced to motherboards? It must be a few years ago. Well, there's two different kinds of TPM. There's a physical TPM that can attach to a board as like an add-on piece, or there's a virtual TPM that's built into your CPU, and they're both equal. There's no reason to add TPM to a motherboard if your CPU has a TPM built into it. TPM was added to the CPUs right around 2015. So any CPU that was designed prior to that likely does not have the TPM built in, and it would require, for Windows 11 on the TPM side of things, it would require an add-on TPM module. However, Windows 11 needs a lot more than just TPM and Secure Boot, by the way. Windows 11 needs some instruction sets in the CPU itself, which even if the CPU has TPM and even if the CPU has Secure Boot options, even if it has UEFI and all that other thing, if it doesn't have the instruction sets, and again, you can look at the Windows 11 requirements page, Microsoft details this. For some reason, the internet is fixated on Secure Boot and TPM as though those were the only two things Windows cares about. It is not true. It's much more complicated than that. But if you don't have TPM and you don't have Secure Boot, then all those other things don't matter anyway. So I guess that's why people don't talk about them. But TPM is a module. It's an emulated module in AMD and Intel CPUs that can be enabled and disabled in the BIOS versus a physical TPM. Just like I can have a virtual drive and a real drive. Or I can have a virtual RAID controller, or what we call a software RAID controller, versus a hardware RAID controller. So thank you for the question. But yeah, not a motherboard necessarily edition, but a CPU edition. Any last questions? We have a long show today, but It's been fun hanging out. We've had a lot to talk about. We're about 3.5 hours into today's show. And given that there was not a public show this whole week, I thought I'd try and make it back up to you with a little bit longer of a show, so long as you guys wanted to engage. What's up?
You haven't crashed at all?
Yeah, I've crashed the live chat. Yeah, 2 or 3 times. No, I just hit refresh, and it's not that big of a deal. It's just
pain in the butt.
Yeah, I kind of expected. It's not a question of if, just when. And the refresh button's one click, so what?
I'm too lazy.
Better get DoorDash. Have them click the button for you. $40.
Sounds like a deal.
Even if DoorDash was the same money, I wouldn't buy it because the food's still not as hot. I want to eat when I want to eat. I don't want to wait for some random driver to show up. Did I invite you back here?
Yes, you did.
I did.
Hi, everybody. I just figured I'd come on and say hi. You've been at this for a very long time.
Well, waiting for Windows to install, showing the different methods, showing the different drivers.
Oh, you did a beautiful review on this.
All right. Well, you could have said that.
I am saying that.
You could have started with that.
Yeah, this is pretty cool.
You hear it?
No, not at all.
Put it to your ear. Can you hear the ocean?
Right.
There's a slight, if you listen real careful.
Very, oh my gosh, minimal.
Yeah.
Minimal.
Should I open it up?
Maybe in part 2.
You want me to wrap this up today?
You don't have to.
I mean, it's just right here.
I don't know how long we're going to be able to retain our audience.
Oh, we have an audience? I was doing this for me. Oh, that foot does not want to come off.
Oh my gosh. Yikes.
Yeah, the sticky stuff wants to stay stuck to the...
There's no screws under it.
Oh, there's no screw under it. Oh, well then how does this open? Well, that's good. So don't take the feet off.
Yeah. Oh, that's super awesome. Wow. All right.
We have a little tiny M.2 drive slot available, little 2242. Let's see if we can go full screen so people can see us.
Hey, that's pretty neat.
There we are. M.2,
wow.
Spare M.2, 2242. This is our single TDR4 DIMM right here.
Oh my gosh.
See, now the foot won't stay back
easy.
on now that I've torn it off. Maybe if I rotate it so that the sticky part that was left behind goes to the bald spot on the back of the foot. Don't take the feet off of this. It the lid just...
And you don't need to.
The lid just pulls off.
Right off. That's neat.
That's the USB ports. That's the little screw for that little M.2. The DIMM. There's, it looks like the Wi-Fi modules. Oh, you know what? The Wi-Fi module's under the M.2. Let's hit the power button on that. That should cycle it down. Let's see. Yeah, that cycled the power off. So I'll pull this plug. Pull this plug. Let's just take everything off here. Let's see what's underneath this M.2. You're leaving me?
I'm going to allow you to continue your fun. Bye, everybody.
Back to work.
Yeah, back to work.
But what is the deal? What kind of screwdriver does this take? Even my JIS driver is not fitting on here. Not that one either. I'm going to need like a jeweler's driver to get that out. Maybe, maybe. Nope. Okay. Jeweler's screwdrivers. I think they are... Where did I put them? We'll just do it this way, I suppose. That one fits. I just want to see if the Wi-Fi card under here is soldered in or not. Aha! It's available. Look at that. So if I bring this up to the camera, I can show you close up what I'm looking at. So underneath the M.2 drive that was here is our BIOS battery, CMOS battery. This is our Wi-Fi card. You can see you can swap it out if you want to upgrade the Wi-Fi. Right there. This is a little M.2 drive. You see the screw. It's pretty close. So it's just a little 2242 is what it'll fit. And then this is our single RAM slot. These type of CPUs, they only accept single channel RAM, and they're limited to a 16 gig maximum anyway. Intel limits them. That's how they make them cheaper. Interestingly, this calls this a G3 Plus. I don't know why it says G3 Plus. And all the way around. And the lid, if you missed me putting the lid on or taking the lid off, it just snaps apart. That would have been nice to know 3 hours ago, huh? Just like that. So if you want to open it up, just get a fingernail underneath there. There's no wires or fan or anything to worry about breaking or damaging. And then the SSD that's in there is exactly what Crystal Disk Info stated, which is the air disk, whatever that is. But a standard 2280. And we'll just pop that bad boy right back in there. Well, I advise against upgrading these machines. I ain't your daddy. You want to get in there against my advice, that's how you do it. I'm not here to withhold any information from you. I want to give you all of the information, tell you what my perspective is, and allow you to choose. Assume you're a big boy and you can make your own decisions, and we'll accept your own consequences. Don't blame me for it, that's all I'm saying. All right. I think that's it for the show. That turned out to be way easier than I thought it was going to be. So, summary. Kind of a wonky install of Windows set to the future date of 2047. It is an international copy of Windows versus a regional, which is what I'm typically using. You can make your own Windows 11 installation media for free, direct from Microsoft. So you don't have to worry about any pre-configurations you don't like. Or you can use what's on here, it's fine. You see, or you can get drivers, and you can even download the whole pre-installed OS basically right from GMKtec if you want to stick with that. Your choice. I've shown you how to do that. I've shown you how to put the drivers in. I've shown you how to reinstall. I've shown you how to open it, and I've shown you the performance of it. It's quiet, it's cheap. Is there any other questions I can answer for you about this? Frank Jimmy says Long Island is a lot bigger than it looks on a map, so there's a diverse culture and economic scale from different neighborhoods. Generally, North Shore homes and out east are the rich people. Oh, okay. Wasn't it like the ferry that Colin Jost and Pete Davidson bought that went from Long Island? I can't remember. Skeeman said that's all our local library uses are mini PCs mounted to the back of their monitors. Yeah, and in such a case, you don't want people to access the USB ports. That's how you get viruses, right? It kind of keeps a user's fingers away from IT support issues that can develop as a result. And they're very affordable. Patrick says he once ordered Taco Bell at 1:30 in the morning. It didn't arrive via DoorDash until almost 2:30 in the morning. Yeah. I bet you could have gone to the car and ran over there and been home and ate and went back to bed before DoorDash even showed up and saved money. Frank Jimmy says, put a lid on it, right? Yeah, that's exactly right. Just put a lid on it. Morton says, good night from Upper Marlboro, Maryland. Time for blue crabs and beer. All right. Scott says, have a great weekend, Carrie and Mara. Well, thank you, Scott. You too, all of you. I hope you have a great rest of your Friday. Have a great weekend. I don't have any shows scheduled for this weekend, but you never know. You never know. We will definitely be back Monday at 1 o'clock for our members only show. So hopefully we'll see our members back in these smaller attended videos, which are a bit more informal, and there's things I'm more free to talk about where I know that, you know, some future viewer 2 years from now is going to find some old public video and use it against me somehow. So for that reason, again, you know, members can only see the members only videos. And if you're not a member, I hope you'll consider giving it a shot. It's a great way to help keep us going and give you more content if you enjoy this kind of content. Super shout out and a thank you to our friends at SCD Keys. You know, I don't really talk about them a lot because I don't want it to turn into a commercial. But I do want you guys to be reminded that if you need a Windows key or an Office license key, you don't have to spend that kind of money that Microsoft wants to charge you. And you don't have to take the kind of risks that sites like eBay and such or foreign websites may give with regards to what are they going to do with your payment information? What kind of support are you going to get? Are you even going to get anything at all? Is what you're getting stolen? So if you want reassurances and you want support, you get 6 months of free support from SCD Keys. The prices are really, really aggressive. And with our coupon code, you get another 30% off. And I hear myself and I go, gosh, that sounds like a sales pitch. I want you to be aware that if you order it or you don't order it, I don't make any more money. But you can save money. And that's on you. And there's no risk. You don't have to wonder if it's legit or legal or stolen, or that your information that you use for payment is somehow going to be sold in the dark web or something. This company's been around way too long. They've got a history, a verifiable history, and many of our community have had their own experiences, and if you ask them, they'll tell you. So if you want to save money and still have peace of mind, this is where I get my keys from. And by the way, I'm paying the same price. So for whatever that's worth, we really appreciate that SCD Keys is making sure that you guys get that additional 30% that isn't just offered to anybody. And they don't have to do that. For that reason, I mentioned it here on the video in the hopes that it'll save you some money and some potential headache getting ripped off. There's just too many scammers in the world today. And there are only going to be more tomorrow. So if you guys should have any issues with anything I talked about on the channel, if you order one of these, share your experience with me. If you order a license key from SCD Keys, share your experience. I want to hear from the actual person with the experience, good or bad, versus hearing stories that just propagate around because people just gossip. But real stories. And if we can help you out, if the story is in any way challenging, we definitely need to know about it, and maybe we can even help you correct that and make it right. Especially with like SCD keys, I guarantee that's going to be a good transaction, that the whole experience isn't going to leave you in a negative financial situation where you didn't get what you paid for. You'll either get it or you're going to get a refund, even if I give you the money right out of my pocket, if that's what it comes to. And if that were a normal process, you think I'd be here promoting them? So just so you know, I don't know necessarily when I'm reviewing products what the long-term use is, what the typical concern is of somebody relying on it every day. You need to share that with me. Well, you don't need to, but the only way I'm going to get the information is if people I know, people I trust, that I know aren't making stuff up, share with their actual experience, positive or negative, with stuff like this. And that will determine, hey, should we see more from GMKtec? Should I spend more money to buy more GMKtec products? Tell me. Is that what you want to see? Or are there other products you want me to see? If we can afford them with our support membership, we'll do it. So let me know. Don't be shy. If I can't do it, I can't do it. But worst I could say is I can't. I mean, otherwise, like I said, I'm looking for items that I think are going to benefit you, but I don't know you, so this may be completely off the table for you. It may not solve any problems for you. On the other hand, you might know somebody that's not a part of our community and say, hey, did you guys know you can get this? And
Check your email before you go.
oh, check my email again?
Yeah.
Oh, it's a good idea to say thank you to everybody again, too. A shout out and a thank you for all of the support, all the super chats. Thank you to, Frankie B sends an Amazon gift card, and Frankie's just a very generous person. Thank you, Frankie. Frankie joins us from New York as well. Thank you again to Mark Leibowitz and Steve Dodd. Thank you for the email, by the way. And to, of course, our friend Buster. Mark Gaines, thank you so much as always. Charlie Purdy, again, thank you as always. A lot of generosity and love in the channel today. And all that money that's contributed and the membership money, that all goes back into the channel so that we can continue to bring you this content without any bias or even wondering, is it possible he's biased? It's transparent. You guys see it. I got no dog in the race. It is what it is. Should I get one of those ACEMAGIC machines and try it? I'm just afraid that by the time I get it, it's going to go back to its $200 price. Right now, that's $111. We have links. You can decide for yourself. Links are in the show notes below the video. And thank you to Mara, of course, for all the work she does behind the scenes. And a shout out one more time to Al Perez and Thomas Yeager, Nick Caffrey, Mark Gaines, Ben Laird and David Graham, Davis Parsons, Charlie Purdy, Luke Greenia, 3D Everything, Joshua Mattingly, our friend Buster, Chris Johnson, and our newest member, Bob Furren. Thank you for supporting us. Thank you for the membership renewals and the super chats. Some folks in there have given a couple of super chats today, like David Graham. So again, thank you so much for your contributions and support. That's going to wrap it up. I will see you all again very, very soon. Any additional questions, just leave them below. If I can answer them, if it's possible, I will. But feel free to ask in the comments below if you missed the live video. That'll wrap it up for me for today. We'll see the members on Monday, and the rest of you very, very soon on our next live video. I hope you will join us then. Until next time, bye for now.